Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Can everybody hear me clearly? Can everybody see clearly? What's the feed look like? There's a little time delay, but can everybody see and hear us? Just type in the chat. Let me know if we're good to go. All right. Baruch Shemo. My brother, Chief Peniel. Princess Simcha. Chief Abraham. Governor, the Tirshata, a.k.a. the Tirshata. All my brothers at Chief Eleazar's house. The Maccabees. Shabbat Shalom. Ima. Shabbat Shalom. Princess Naomi. Shabbat Shalom. All right, let's get this thing started. We're going to start out with praises, as we do every week, and go right into the reciting of the 10 Commandments, the Constitution of Israel, out of Exodus 20, the Ivrit, in Hebrew. All right, let's rise. Let's get this over a little bit. All right, come up here. Giving all honor and praise to the Most High God, who sitteth in the seat of judgment, whose throne is inestimable, the Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, the high and lofty one, who inhabiteth eternity, who has no counselor and none to consort with him. He who has reigned from the beginning, before any creature was formed, or any green shoot shot forth, before the foundations of the earth were laid, before the legions of angels first assembled. Yea, he who possessed wisdom ere the waters were parted asunder, or the winds of the firmament ever blew. He alone, the dreaded one, did reign, still reigns, and shall reign over all things forever. From everlasting to everlasting, El Shaddai, the Almighty God, the creator of all life, who made man in his own image, to whom he gave a heart of flesh, and has imparted him with the 5 operations of Elohim, eyes to see, ears to hear, smell, and taste, that he might enjoy the pleasures of eating and drinking, whereby he may obtain strength and healing from the foods and medicines of the earth that he made for him. And feeling also, both to the touch and in the inward parts, to know what was in his heart, whether he would serve Ha Elohim, his maker, or no. And besides these, he endowed him with good sense and reason and speech to interpret the things that are seen and heard, that he might comprehend and articulate his thoughts, becoming fully aware, possessing the power to make sound decisions. And in his abounding loving kindness, he granted him understanding, yea, and knowledge also, that he might have withal to pursue the things that are pleasing to the Lord and depart from evil. He to whom all honor, worship, and praise is due, the omnipotent God, the God of the Hebrews who made the sea and the dry land, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob, the God of Israel, the true and living God, the author of love, time, life, and sound, who spake and it was created, for all things are done at the words of his mouth, who breathed life, the one spirit, into our first father Adam, from whom we all are come to the world, which he made for the serving, nurturing, and nourishment of man, his most precious creation. To whom he gave his most righteous law, for righteousness belonging to him alone, who is just in all things, who keep his covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, even to the seed of his beloved friend Abraham, even to us, the children of Israel, B'nai Zaken Maccabees, sons of the ancient Maccabees. For he is our God, the ancient of days, for before the day was, is he. The God of the spirits of all flesh, El Quanah, the jealous God, El Rakum, the merciful God, El Rapah, the God of healing, the one and only true healer, Hagadol, the great, Hagibor, the mighty, Hanorah, and the terrible. Elohim Zebaot, the Lord of hosts is his name. He is the King of glory. Blessed be the glorious name of his kingdom forever and ever. For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Giving due respect to the chief men, princes, dignitaries, officers, mothers in Israel, brothers and sisters, I stand before you this day, Prince Zakaryah, a title bestowed upon me by the order of Chief of Chiefs Eleazar, Ben Lewi, Ben Dodo, a.k.a. Matitya, father of the house of the Maccabees, my teacher and leader, in whose honor I speak and continue the legacy of his name, works, and teachings, in the name of our God, and the holy law given us at the mouth of his prophet Moshe, reinstituted by and in accordance with the protocol set forth by Nasi Yaakov, head knock of all the Hebrews, teacher, leader, and founder of B'nai Zaken, the first Hebrew Israelite congregation in the United States of America, whither we have been exiled because of our sins and the sins of our fathers, whom our God commissioned to bring his people together, to the intent that he might open our eyes and give us ears to hear and a heart to perceive, as it is at this day, so that we may keep his commandments, return to him, and repair the breach. I bid you in the ancient tongue of our fathers, Shabbat Shalom Lakem.
Shabbat Shalom Laka.
Please remain standing as we recite the Constitution of Israel from Exodus 20. Vayidaber Elohim
Vayidaber Elohim
et kal hadevarim
et kol hadevarim
ha'aleh lemor
ha'aleh lemor
Anoki El Shaddai Eloheka
Anoki El Shaddai Eloheka
asher hotzetika
asher hotzetika
me'eretz Mitzrayim
me'eretz Mitzrayim
mibeit abadim
מבית עבדים
lo yihye leka
לא יהיה לך
Elohim acherim
אלוהים אחרים
al panai
על פניי
lo ta'aseh leka fesel
לא תעשה לך פסל
vekal timuna
וכל תמונה
asher bashamayim mima'al
אשר בשמיים ממעל
ואשר בארץ מתקת
ואשר בארץ מתקת
ואשר במים מתקת לארץ
ואשר במים מתקת לארץ
לא תשתחווה להם
לא תשתחווה להם
ולא תעבדם
ולא תעבדם
כי אנוכי אל שדי אלוהיך
כי אנוכי אל שדי אלוהיך
אל כהניו
אל כהניו
בוקר ההון
ובוקר ההון
אבות על בנים
אבות על בנים
על שילשים
על שילשים
ועל ריבעים
ועל רבעים
לשונאי
לשונאי
ועושה חסד
ועושה חסד
לאלפים לאוהבי
ואלפים לאוהבי
ולשומרי מצותי
ולשומרי מצותי
לא תישא את שם
לא תישא את שם
אל שדי אלוהיך
אל שדי אלוהיך
לשווא
לשווא
כי לא ינקה אל שדי
כי לא ינקה אל שדי
את אשר יישא
את אשר יישא
את שמו לשווא
את שמו לשווא
זכור את יום השבת
זכור את יום השבת
לקודשו
לקודשו
ששת ימים תעבוד
שישה ימים תעבוד
ועשית כל מלאכתך
ועשית כל מלאכתך
ויום השביעי
ויום השביעי
שבת לאל שדי אלוהיך
שבת לאל שדי אלוהיך
לא תעשה כל מלאכה
לא תעשה כל מלאכה
אתה
אתה
ובנך
ובנך
וביתך
וביתך
עבדך
עבדך
ועמתך
ועמתך
ובהמתך
ובהמתך
וגירך אשר בשעריך
וגירך אשר בשעריך
כי ששת ימים
כשישה ימים
עשה אל שדי
עשה אל שדי
את השמיים
את השמיים
ואת הארץ
ואת הארץ
את הים
את הים
ואת כל אשר בם
ואת כל אשר בם
וינח ביום השביעי
וינק היום השביעי
על כן ברק אל שדי
על כן ברק אל שדי
את יום השבת
את יום השבת
ויהי כלשהו
ויהי כלשהו
כבד את אביך
כבד את אביך
ואת אמך
ואת אמך
למען יריקון ימיך
למען יריקון ימיך
על האדמה
על האדמה
אשר אל שדי אלוהיך
אשר אל שדי אלוהיך
נותן לך
נותן לך
לא תרזח
לא תרזח
לא תנאף
לא תנאף
לא תגנוב
לא תגנוב
לא תענה
לא תענה
ברעך עד שקר
ברעך עת שקר
לא תחמוד
לא תחמוד
בית רעך
בית רעך
לא תחמוד
לא תחמוד
אשת רעך
אשת רעך
ועבדו
ועבדו
ואמתו
ואמתו
ושורו
ושורו
וחמורו
וחמרו
וכל אשר לרעך.
וכל אשר לרעך.
Shavu, you may be seated. And all the people perceived the thunderings and the lightnings and the voice of the horn and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God has come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that you transgress not. And the people stood afar off, but Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord said unto Moses, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. An altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stones. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. Baruch Shemo. For those of us that were watching teachings earlier, I know Chief Shama went through this in Hebrew. Second time doing it today. Nothing wrong with that. These are some of the most powerful words ever spoken. That's a direct quote from our teacher, Chief Eleazar. This is the first and last time that God spoke with an entire nation of people. Over 3 million people were present that day at the foot of Mount Sinai. And he never spoke to an entire nation of people ever again, and giving them the first 10 commandments, which is where all of the, they say, 613 laws, statutes, and judgments and commandments stem from, right? So these words are powerful. Not only are we just reciting them as tokenism, this is where we are speaking to our own spirits. And if you've been following the past few weeks, this is how we train our spirits. This is how we coach ourselves, by speaking the words of the law every single day. So we do this twice on Shabbat, so be it. Never get tired of it. Never feel like, you gotta do this again. Why you gotta go over it again? Why not? We ain't right with God. We're trying to get right. And as much as it takes for in repetition, whatever you repeat, you become. And these are the first 10 commandments that not only deal with our moral character, but even goes deep even into our thoughts. So in case we were ever wondering if God is judging our thoughts, just look at the last command, which is you shall not covet. And that goes on in here. You don't, the second act of stealing or committing adultery or taking something that belongs to your neighbor that you coveted is the second sin on top of coveting, right? So coveting is the thought or the feeling that you want something that doesn't belong to you, that you're lusting after and desiring something that doesn't belong to you. And that happens in here. So just a reminder that we must control our thoughts, we must control our feelings, we must control our emotions. And in reciting these daily, not just the 10 commandments, but reading the law daily out loud, if you can, or talking about it every day when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up, as part of the training process. These words do have power to make you, to strengthen your spirit. This is you sharpening your sword against sin. This is you fortifying your shield against sin, right? All right. I think we went over a lot of those in the past few weeks. Today, as you can see, the title of this lesson is called The Order of Life Established by God. Today, we're going to be going over creation and also days, specifically the cycle of a day, what constitutes it according to God, and then also what is faithfulness according to how he established it. And in order for us to remain faithful or to become faithful with our God, because faithful is a broad definition. It doesn't only mean trustworthy, but it is a measurement of how much you believe in God, right? And so your faithfulness is literally our loyalty to God is literally based on or determined by how faithful we are, how much we believe God. The more we believe him, the more loyal we will become to him. The less we will betray him. And anytime we side with our own hearts and our own feelings and break the law, we betray, I'm not going to say God, I'm going to go deeper than that so it could touch the soul. We betray our maker, our creator, the God that made us. How do we think that we could prevail without the God that made us? He created all things. He created the existence that which we live in. There's no way that you could go outside of the order of life. And this is beyond commandments. This is the way he set things up, right? There's no way that we could go outside of that and do practices that he did not command us, or observances according that are outside of what he commanded, and think that we are going to prevail, or think that we can still find favor in his eyes. So today we're going to go over what that order of life is. In order to do that, we need to start at the beginning. And so before we dive into Genesis chapter 1, I want to ask everybody who's listening now, and all those who watch this video at a later date, that from this moment forward, leave everything that you were taught in school behind you. Throw it in the trash, flush it down the toilet, wash it down the drain, get rid of it. Come to this teaching as if you know nothing, and let the book teach us the way that God set up the order of life. Let us not bring our own perceptions, our own opinions, or the negationistic teachings of our youth. You heard me say that before. You're going to hear it again throughout these teachings. And the definition of negationist, just so that we know, so that you, when you hear me say this, you understand what I mean, is a person. By the way, we're all learning. It's a new word that I learned, a few months back when I wrote something that I want to read to you guys at the end of the teachings, and share with you. So negationist is a person who denies, minimizes, or refuses to accept the documented reality of widely accepted historical events or established facts. It is the revisionism in this specific context, that involves altering or omitting actual historical occurrences to fit an ideological narrative, often offending the memory of those that set it up, or of its victims, meaning the people that are taught. Is to control us, right? Scientific denial, it's rejecting proven scientific consensus. Mind you, this is just a definition from a dictionary or Google, right? But in this case, it would be rejecting proven facts that were set up by God when he established the order of life at creation, right? Despite overwhelming evidence, right? So even though we can show things in the book that teach us, no, that's not true. Even though Psalms 19 says the son is as a bridegroom who coming out of his chamber as a strong man to run a race, meaning the sun is the one moving. But they say, no. The sun is standing still. We are moving at thousands of millions of miles an hour. The earth is spinning, first of all, at 1,000 miles per hour, and it's going around the sun and chasing the sun throughout the universe, right? And I stopped using certain words. I'm not calling him king of the universe anymore. I know we read this in prayer books, but I never read that word in the book. And I don't know olam to mean universe. I know olam to mean world or eternity, right? And so he's the God of ha'olam, eternity, the world to come. Be ha'olam abba laba, or which is the world to come, which is the eternity to come, right? Because it has no end, right? So I want us to stop thinking in English. And I know that's a hard thing to ask, since we were raised and indoctrinated in school with the language that we were taught from our youth, which is English, most of us, and start thinking in Hebrew, which is another hard thing to ask. But all we have to do is adhere to the words of the book exactly the way they are written, according to what they mean in Hebrew. And then once we find out what that means in English, adopt that to your new way of seeing things, to your new way of thinking, so that we can accept the order of life that God set up, and not oppose it with our opinions or our perceptions, but adhere only to what the words mean. Okay, so I know that's a lot to ask, and it's a process that you have to continue to coach yourself through. But I'm gonna help you coach yourself as I coach myself through this process. All right, so let's go to Genesis chapter 1. Let's start from the top.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was
okay.
without
First, as we go, I'm going to be stopping the reader because he's reading from King James Version. Excellent, closest translation that you're going to find to the Hebrew. aside from the linear Bible, right? Which is, or it's not an actually whole Bible. It's just the first 5 books, the Chumash, right? But it's not called the Chumash. It's a different translation, and it's referred to as the linear. Chumash just means 5, right? And it's a reference to the first 5. The linear is a great translation. King James has the closest to the Hebrew throughout the entire Tanakh, throughout the entire Old Testament, than any other translation that I've come across. And yes, this is an opinion. This is not an established fact. If you feel otherwise, so be it. But just know that we're going to be going into Hebrew also as we read to confirm what we're reading, right? And that's the best way to do it, because the language was written in Hebrew. These are the words, the book was written in the Hebrew language, and these are the words that God spoke to Moses, and God told Moses what to write. Moses didn't write any of his own ideas, his own opinions, his own perceptions. He wrote word for word what God told him to write when he sat on the top of Mount Sinai with God himself, face to face, as faithful and meek a man as he was, worthy of such, right? So we'll talk a little bit about that too, the character that it takes to be faithful with God once we learn what is faithfulness to God. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And why do I say that? Because the word for heavens is plural, hashamayim, right? The word Shema is in Shemayim. Yeah, yes, you're going to hear me say certain things. You're going to say, oh, it's not the whole spelling of Shema is not in Shemayim for those Hebrew scholars out there. And you're right, but all the letters have meanings, and this is what formulates the words. And because of the meanings of each letters put together with the other letters, it gives us the entire meaning of the word. And so Shema is in it. That's why he said, give ear, O heavens. And he's always asking the heavens to be a witness, because the heavens is listening at all times. Not only is the word Shema in Shemayim, the word Mayim is in Shemayim. And Mayim is waters. It's not just, the word water is plural. There is no singular form for the word water in Hebrew. It is a plural word. That's why when he speaks about the waters, it's Hamayim, right? There's no singular word for water, right? So this is why I said stop thinking in English, start thinking in Hebrew, right? So we know that water is always plural. If we were speaking this way in English, we would be saying, can I get a glass of waters? I'm going to take a dip in the waters, right? And this is how God set up the Hebrew language. So Mayim is also in the word Shamayim, which is plural. So it's the heavens. Why is it the heavens? Because there is the heavens, and then there's the heavens of heavens. And we read about that as King Solomon explained and expounded. The wisest man, the wisest king, the richest king to have ever lived, right? So you don't want to argue with wisdom, right? And he explained to us that there is a heaven and heavens of heavens. Wa'et ha'aretz, and the earth, which also means land in Hebrew. So earth and land are synonymous. Keep that in mind. Term sheet.
And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
Okay, and the earth, Haita, is the word for was, and it existed, tohu, void, empty, nothingness. Ubohu, and unformed. And so it translates in Hebrew to mean without form and void. It translates in Hebrew that the earth existed in nothingness and in nothingness. It existed in voidness and was void and was in void, meaning there was no shape or form to it. Okay, so it was only darkness. Wechoshek al pinei tihom, and darkness upon the face of the deep. Where ruach Elohim, and the spirit of God. Ruach is also the word for wind. Okay, the spirit of God, merachebet, hovered, al pinei hamayim, over the face of the waters. Tamshi.
And God said, let there be light. And there was light.
Mm-hmm. let us all picture this while we're listening, while we're reading, because it's just darkness and there's waters over the face of the waters. So we know there's a face. But I want you to empty out your mind according to what we know a face of waters is, because this top of the glass, this water in the top of the cup is the face of the waters. But if there's nothing in between at this time, the face of the waters could mean any side of it. Right? And where is the extent of the waters? It doesn't tell us. It's just waters and it's dark. And God's hovering over the face of it, wherever it be, on top, wherever, all around it. This is hard for us to understand because we're trying to limit these words to our small understanding, right? According to the order of life that we know here, right? And God said, let there be light, and there was light. So today I also mentioned in the description for these lessons that we're going to debunk the theory of evolution and the Big Bang theory. And I want to start out by saying that scientists have a hard time accepting this because they think it makes them religious. Religious people, which we are not, we are the people that follow the word of God and the way of life that he set up, right? We are God's people. We are the Hebrews. We are the Israelites, right? Descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So we are not religious, because religion is stemming from the Anglo-Saxon word regalare, and it means, to hold back, right? To limit, right? And so this is not what God's word does to us. It does not limit us, and it in fact enhances and increases. And this is why the word is called sekel. When someone adheres to these words and understands and accepts the true order of life that God set up and lives by what is acceptable to God, it makes them sekel, enlightened, right? So this is not something that limits us. This is something that enhances your being, your understanding, your power, right? Okay, so let there be light, and there was light. This is what scientists like to call the Big Bang theory. And it's anything, most of the things that they talk about are theories because they can't be proven. See, we don't need proof and showing what happened long before we were around, because God told Moses what to write as a witness so that we can be witness to everything that happened before we were created. And God is letting us know how he did it. He doesn't need to go into detail. And that's our problem. We need every little detail to accept something to be true. And that is not faithfulness. You might have heard my brother Chief Shama teaching earlier. And he said, Abraham, we're not like Abraham because we lack what he did, what he had, which is blind allegiance. Blind allegiance is when God says something, you say solid. That's what it is. Stamp. You don't need to go, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around this one. I can't really see it in my mind's eye. And that's why I can't really go by that. And that's why I'm going to tell you, like Achilles told the young boy in Troy, that is why your name will not be remembered. Yeah! And he took off on his horse. Because we don't believe God. We need proof. We need all these extra things, right? And that's what makes us unfaithful to God, unfaithful before God. So when he said, let there be light, and there was light, light happened. But God is eternal. He's not going nowhere. He's not in a rush to do anything. That's why it is a principle of wisdom to understand when King Solomon said, he that maketh haste sinneth. If you make haste, if you're in a hurry to do anything, you're sinning. Not that, because that means you're going to mess up and make a mistake because you was in a hurry. That's why you made a mistake. No, when you hurry, you are sinning. That's what it means. And that's a principle of wisdom to understand. Because we're not supposed to be in a rush. What are you rushing for? Like I said last week, if all of our decisions are based on what we can see in front of our face right now, then we prove that this is where we belong. This is the existence where our name deserves to be written. But if all of our decisions are based on what we cannot see because we believe God, and we make decisions to forsake our own feelings, our own emotions, our own desires to use our free will to do God's will, then we can be accepted of him. Then we prove that we are not worthy to live in this existence, Therefore, we are worthy to live in eternity. The serving the purpose of why we were created in the beginning, in the image of his eternity. Right? So, and there was light. They call this the Big Bang. My question for all of these scientists and physicists out there is, you say two atoms crashed together to create this Big Bang. Where did the atoms come from? Who created them? And if we can't answer that question, the whole theory is ashpa, garbage, basura, trash. What is worth the theory if you can't even explain it properly? Right? And it's just a theory. It's just a belief. It doesn't have anything to substantiate it except for one guy that had a little power, or the families that were in power decided to elevate the opinion of that guy. That's it. That's all it is. That's all we're taught in the school. What the families that run the earth, who are devil worshippers, decided that was best to teach the people, to keep them all sheep and workers and not free-thinking, powerful beings that were made in the image of God. They don't want you to know who you are, because then they can't control you. And God saw the light, Tom Shee, verse 4.
And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And in the evening,
okay, this is important. God saw the light that it was good, and he divided the light from the darkness. This is before there was a sun and moon. Okay, so there's two divisions of light and dark that we're going to read about in this chapter. One is the light that he created in the beginning, before there was a sun or a moon or the stars, from the darkness that was already present. Scientists have studied this, and this is why, another reason why a lot of more scientists are believing in God these days. And they have found a mineral present that's in the earth, that's also in the air, at the point in the sky where the light meets the darkness. Because this is the only, some of God's creation cannot be replicated by man. In other words, you cannot make an accurate model of the earth as far as the light is concerned. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you have a room, or if we made a model and we created a dome that represented the firmament, and water in a bowl and land, and we're going to get to all of this, because there's no way that the earth is a ball of water with land sticking out of it, and people are not falling off the bottom of the ball in Australia. Okay, so let's get that out of our heads. That's what school taught us. That's not what Genesis 1 is going to teach us. So let's go through this step by step, verse by verse, and we're going to disprove all of the negationist teachings from our school systems and the indoctrination from NASA and whoever else is trying to teach us what the world looks like without going by what it says in Genesis. Let's get that out of our head. We're going to rewrite this, our mind and our mindset and our way of thinking with the words of the book. Okay, so he separated the light from the darkness. He divided it. Yabdel is the word for divided. It means to divide. It also means a separation, right? And in the sky, they found a mineral present where the light hits the darkness, and then it changes. One side of the world is light, where the sun is, and the other side of the world is night, right? And let's just think about it from in the beginning. Remove all the land and the water and the shape of the world right now. Let's just see waters, darkness, and light. That's where we're at so far. And the darkness and light had to be separated, because if he created light, boom, it will overtake the darkness, because that's what light does. And darkness overpowers the earth. So God had to put something in between them, that they don't mix together or overpower each other. They mix, but they don't overpower each other. And so this is before sun and moon, mind you. We're going to get to this, but they found a mineral where at that point is in the firmament, I'm going to say, or the sky, the expanse, because that's what Hashamayim means, right? Not only heavens, or rather say that's what Shamayim means, heavens. We haven't got to the Rakuya yet, which is the firmament, but because the waters haven't been divided yet. So they found it in the firmament, At that time, there was just waters, though, until we get to the next verse. And it's called adamantium. They named it adamantium because it works like an adamant. And adamant means nothing can pass it. He was very adamant about it. He would not change his mind, right? Adamant means something that cannot pass, something that cannot be permissible, something that's not allowed. And God put something called adamant, well, what man calls adamantium, an element in the firmament to keep the light divided from the darkness, right? Okay. Before sun and moon. Okay. You can look this stuff up if you want. And God called the light day because he knows there's certain things that they found out. They don't share this with the public because then we're going to start to believe Genesis. Okay. Verse 5.
And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And in the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay, we got to translate that. And God called the light day. God called the light day, Yom. And he called the darkness Lila, night. The light he called day, the night he called Lila. I want you to keep in mind that the book teaches us what words mean. The words that are broken down to us in Genesis chapter 1 do not carry the same meaning throughout the rest of the book. And even when you get into chapter 2, God is more specific. Matter of fact, when we get to verse, in the same verse, it's more specific. And I'm going to tell us, I'm going to explain myself. The light is called day. The darkness is called night. And there was evening, and there was morning. Day 1. That's how it translates. Let's read it in Hebrew. Wayihi Ereb is the word for evening, Ereb. Wayihi Boqer. And there was morning. Yom Echad. Now, as we read through the rest of the book, we're going to see that the word Ereb is used for evening time, eventide, you might read in King James Version. Even, which is, according to the book, the time, which we're also going to go into the definition of Ereb right now. And it means the time of day before dark, when the sun is going down. Now, here's how we're going to figure this out. First, we're going to find out what the word is Ereb, what it means, according to the definition of Ereb. And then we're going to find out what Ereb means in Genesis chapter 1. Because God is explaining himself here. And we need to be on the same page with God and not think that we know everything because I looked up the definition. So it can't mean that. No, you got to understand what God is saying according to the words that God is using without adding our own know-it-all attitude. So let us come to him with simplicity of heart. And let's go into the definition of Ereb. Right? So Arab is the root word. It means arid, which is dry, right? Arabi, which is foregoing, something that is about to come in. Hear me out. It means a step, S-T-E-P-P-E. The step. Just follow me because this is the definitions of these words that we're reading, and we're learning a new language that has its own logic to it. And it's not that we use certain words and they have nothing to do with the other meaning of the word when it's in a different context. No, all the meanings of the word correlate and coincide with each other regardless of the context that it's used in. And it's for us to understand how they relate to each other so we can understand the logic of the language. And then we begin to understand what God meant, because a lot of people like to say what God meant and can explain to it using the words that he used. So we're not going to be like them. We're going to use these same words and the meanings of these words to understand what Ereb is when God says the word Ereb. A steppe is a vast, semi-arid, flat grassland completely devoid of trees. It's too dry to be a desert, but too wet to be a forest, right? And so it's grassland and it's flat. Now let's keep that in mind, because Arab or Arabi is a flat land. A flat land, okay? Keep that in mind, because when we're overlooking the sun going down, we're looking at the horizon line of the earth, okay? It also means a foregoing, something that comes before something, okay? It also means Arab is also the steppe dwellers. Arbi is the Arabians, because they dwelt in this plain, in the steppe. So it wasn't always a desert. Just because it's a desert today doesn't mean it was a desert in the time of Abraham. It was just a flat land. Okay? What else does it mean? Flat land, let's see. Arab means sunset. Ereb, sunset. The place of sunset. The west. Ereb, sunset, evening. Okay? It means a mixture also. It also means to mix or a mixture. It also means mixed company. And it's in reference to Exodus 12, the mixed multitude, right? To the Egyptians also, who were a part of the mixed multitude. So it's not only just a mixture of what we're talking about, the light and the dark at evening, but it also is a word that refers to a mixture of people. You know, what we say today, if somebody's white and black, oh, he's mixed, right? That's the word. Ereb, Arab, sunset, evening, in the evening, at the evening, at the turn of the evening. See, all of this is Ereb. So evening, when the sun set, if it means sunset, the sun don't set like this, and it goes from light to dark. The sun gradually goes down beyond the horizon line. And when it hits the even point of the horizon, what happens? You see the light coming up, even though the sun is already down. And what happens? The light mixes with the darkness. Okay? Let's see what else this means. It's getting good. All right. So it means between Arbaim. Keep that word in mind, because that's also used for what we read as evening or even in English. King James doesn't distinguish between when it says Ereb and when it says Ha'arbaim. He calls them both even or evening. Arbaim is plural, but Hebrew is different to English, so it doesn't always put an S at the end. Ereb could be even or sunset. Arbaim could be evening. It's not plural, but it shows that it's great, something greater or something added on to even, right? Plural always means something is more to it, right? So it's between sunset and dark. So that may be the time between, or it's between two evenings. So the entire day between two evenings could also be Arbaim. It could also mean between sunset and dark. The sun is down, but it's not dark yet. And it takes a while for it to get dark. I'm using the definition of these words so that we can understand what evening and even is, the way God uses it in the book. And I'm going to also point out that this is not necessarily true when we read in Genesis chapter 1. So we have to understand by the context of what we're reading, what God is calling evening in Genesis 1. It also means night. And this is why I say we need to understand by the context of what evening or Ereb means. It means to become evening. It means to grow dark. It means Ma'arab, the west or westward, the sun from its setting place. Okay? So all of these are definitions of Ereb. Now here, I'm going to share something with you guys. Okay? First, let's go into the next verse. Genesis, what verse are we?
Verse 6.
And God called the light day and the darkness night. Keep that in mind. He called the light day, the Or, he called Yom, and the Choshek, he called Laila. All right. Then he said, and there was Ereb and there was Boqer, day 1, Yom Echad. Day 1. Okay, this is how it translates. Okay, Tamshi, verse 6.
And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
Let there be a firmament, a raquia, a firmament, an expanse, the sky, in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters. So there's a, Tamshi, verse 7.
And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so.
God created a space, okay? Now, take out that idea of sci-fi movies, Star Wars, Battlestar, whatever, Star Trek. Remove all of that out of your mind about what they teach us in school, what space is, because that is against what we read in Genesis. We don't read about planets in the book. We don't read that you can go outside of the firmament and that's where the sun, the moon, and the stars and the so-called planets are at. We don't read that in here. So we're going to be clear according to what we are reading. He created something that has nothing tangible to it. And he put this empty space in between the waters. The waters to divide the waters from above and the waters beneath. He put this space in between, a space, not space, but a space, an empty space. Okay. And he called it raquia, which is firmament, which is expanse, which is a sky. Okay. Tamshi.
And God called the firmament heaven.
He also called the firmament shamayim. The raquia, he called the shamayim. So if it's still plural, that means all of the heavens, right? Or the heavens is inside of that. Maybe not all of them, or maybe so. Maybe what we could see as the top of the firmament is not the top. Maybe we just can't see beyond it. Maybe there's waters and then there's God and his angels above that. But I don't read that here. So I got to use what I see with my eyes and what I'm reading here and make them both make sense. Not to say God can't go anywhere above the waters or wherever outside of what he created. So that's also true because he is what is called ubiquitous, which he is present in all places, wherever there is a place. And even if there's not a place that he created, he could go outside of that and he will make his own place where you could be in all places at the same time at once. That's ubiquitous, and that's only God. Even the angels have their posts. If we read the book and we read Ezekiel, where each have their own heaven where they are bound or where they are commanded, rather say, right? Which is why they're called the fallen ones, because they didn't adhere to where they were supposed to be commanded. They came down from there and mingled with the daughters of men, right? So, and God called the firmament heaven, and there was evening, and there was morning, day 2. There was Ereb, and there was Boqer. Ereb comes first, Boqer comes second. God don't play word games. He ain't gonna say there was Ereb, and then there was Boqer. But I forgot to tell you that Boqer comes first. I want you to start counting Boqer as first. No, he gave us the order in the which they were to be placed according to the cycle of the order of life that he set up to what a day is. Without no sun and moon yet, let us take a look at something. I'm going to share my screen so you guys could see something. Okay. Let me go here. Where is it at? Where is that button? It's somewhere. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen something I put together based on what we read in Genesis. Okay? Evening, we have morning, day. We have evening or day, because the way that it's written is there was evening, there was evening, there was morning, day two. Over in the dictionary translates to evening, even, or mixture in English, in reference to the mixing of light and darkness at sunset, when it is still light at the horizon but dark above at the uttermost part of the sky or firmament. However, in Genesis chapter 1, the definition of Ereb clearly refers to the entire dark portion of the cycle of a day, of a single day, while Boqer, the Hebrew word for morning, cycle of a single day, but only in this instances where these words are mentioned throughout the Tanakh. So if God said there were evening and there were morning, day one, he wasn't just talking about at the beginning part of a day, and that constituted the entire day, because what happened to the time in between them? So he's letting us know that his reference to Ereb and Boqer are the entire cycle of a day. Ereb covering the entire night portion. That's why one of the definitions of Ereb is night. And Boqer covering the entire light portion. This is why he told us he called light day and darkness night. Right? But yet he said even and morning was the day one. So that means that both of them together are also called Yom in Hebrew by God. And that is an entire day, from evening to the end of morning, which begins the next evening. And that is a dark portion from what we read in Genesis. This is evident both in the Hebrew and English simply because there are no other words in Ereb and Boqer, with the exception of verse 5, which in this verse, the Hebrew word that God gave to the light is Yom, and the darkness he called night. And the Hebrew word he gave to the darkness is Lila. Yom is the Hebrew word for day, and Lila is the Hebrew word for night. But neither of these words are used to describe the cycle of a day in the second half of the verse, which states, and the evening and the morning day. From Hebrew to English, this phrase translates to, and there was the chapter. It is clear that evening and or Ereb is and morning, Boqer, encapsulate the entire cycle of every single day throughout the first 6 days of creation. By these clear statements that God used to describe the cycle of a day, first came before the morning in the consecutive pattern within the cycle of the first 6 days, which set the precedence for all days to follow. We should also note here that when God refers to the first days, day 1, day 2, day 3, etc., as he created them, he is referring to the entire cycle of completion of the cycle of an entire day, and not just the daytime when it is light. Perhaps the words Ereb and Boqer are used in place of Yom and Lila in Genesis chapter 1 to emphasize that every day begins with a sunset and contains a sunrise, and both are the awesome display of his magnificent power as we witness the dividing of the light from the darkness every single day. We back up. We back up. Because somebody said it froze. I wasn't watching the chat. I don't know how long we were frozen. It's been some good stuff. They don't want everybody to hear this. So guess what? We're just gonna go over it again. Am I still glitching? It's probably because of the screen saving. So y'all can see this part, right? Evening, morning, day. Okay, let's take off the screen share. How about now? We good? How about now? Let me know if it's clear, if it's still glitching. Are we good? Somebody let me know in the chat if we're still glitching. All right, we're all good. So they ain't stopping no show. So they want to make it glitch because, oh, it's a technical difficulty. Nah, you just don't like what I'm saying here. Okay, check this out. I'm going to just read what I read to you that was glitching. We have evening and morning, day 1. We have evening and morning, day 2. Evening coming first. The word Ereb in Hebrew translates to evening, even, or mixture in English, in reference to the mixing of light and darkness at sunset when it is still light at the horizon but dark above at the uttermost part of the sky or firmament. However, in Genesis chapter 1, the definition of Ereb clearly refers to the entire dark portion of a cycle of a single day, while Boqer, the Hebrew word for morning, which literally translates to the early part of day, refers to the entire light portion of the cycle of a single day, but only in this specific context, though not in other instances where these words are mentioned throughout the Tanakh. This is evident in both Hebrew and English simply because there are no other words used to refer to the daytime or the nighttime in the entire chapter, Genesis chapter 1, other than Ereb and Boqer, with the exception of verse 5, which states, "And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night." In this verse, the Hebrew word that God gave to the light is yom, and the Hebrew word that he gave to the darkness is lila. Yom is the Hebrew word for day, and lila is the Hebrew word for night. But neither of these words are used to describe the cycle of a day in the second half of the verse, which states, "And the evening and the morning were the first day." From Hebrew to English, this phrase translates to, "And there was evening and there was morning, day 1." Here, throughout the rest of the chapter, it is clear that evening, Ereb, and morning, Boqer, encapsulate the entire cycle of every single day throughout the first 6 days of creation. By these clear statements that God used to describe the cycle of a day, we can also see that evening, which is always mentioned first, came before the morning in the consecutive pattern within the cycle of the first 6 days, which set the precedence for all days to follow. We should also note that that when God refers to the first days, day 1, day 2, day 3, etc., as he created them, he is referring to the entire cycle of light and darkness, day and night, in the completion of the cycle of an entire day, and not just the daytime when it is light. Perhaps the words Ereb and Boqer are used in place of Yom and Lila in Genesis chapter 1 to emphasize that every day begins with a sunset and contains a sunrise, and both are an awesome display of his magnificent power as we witness the dividing of the light from the darkness within a day twice in every single day. We got all that, right? Okay. And this is why Ereb and Boqer we see is used to describe the entire day, which means that Ereb is the part of the darkness, and Boqer covers the part of the day, even though it's not like that in other parts of the book. But in Genesis chapter 1, that is clear because he says Ereb and Boqer is a day. So it has to be the entire cycle of the day, right? He doesn't confuse us by calling Yom and Lila the day and the night, or the entire day Yom, until he says there's Ereb and Boqer, and this is a day. So now we can see what starts the day, which is Ereb. That's why one of the definitions of Ereb is a foregoing, because when it is evening, this is something that goes before the day to follow. Back to Genesis chapter 1. Verse 9.
And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear."
And God and it was so.
And it was so.
Don't leave nothing out. We're trying to get a clear picture here. Let the waters under the heaven be gathered into one place. He didn't say let the waters be gathered into a ball. He said one place. And let the dry land appear. And everything that you have ever learned about water from the time you were born is that it takes the shape of whatever container is holding it, and the top of it is always flat, unless the whole container is round and you fill it up to the top through a hole. And even then, if you put some land on bottom of it, something's going to fall off it if you place something on top of that surface. And what is holding the water? And if it's from above holding it, then we have to have something, especially if it's spinning. Look what happens when I spin my cup. If the world is spinning, why isn't the water all wild across the earth? Oh, the seas are, yeah, you ever seen the Pacific Ocean? You ever been to the beach on the West Coast? The waters come in like this. Look it up on YouTube. Go see not an AI video, a real video, and see where the waters come in nice and peaceful and soft. Ever been on those rides at the carnival? All right, maybe you don't go today, but maybe you've been a long time ago. There's a ride that spins around real fast. The faster it spins, you stick to the wall. And they remove the floor out, and you stuck to the wall. And you try to take your arm off it. You're like, bow! It sticks to the wall. Bow! It sticks to the wall because the thing is spinning. Nowhere near 1,000 miles an hour, mind you, which is how fast they tell us that the earth is spinning. So if that's the case, and the firmament is a bubble around this water that is held together in a mass, this is what they tell us, we land on top of it, and then there's a bubble around that, which is the sky, because even in Australia, there's a sky, right? Because Australia's right here, and then they say there's a sky around it going all the way around, right? Nothing's falling off of Australia, though. A boat could go across here and not fall off, right? Oh, because it's a magnetic, because of gravity, right? That's what they tell us. But you try it. Put something right here and see if it stays, unless you stick it. How come it don't work like this? And nothing's flying outside of the earth because it's spinning so fast. It's called centrifugal force. This is why when you stir up a cup like this, if you spin it, the faster you spin it, if all the water goes to the outside, and you will see a whirlpool in the middle, all the way to the bottom. How come nothing's being sucked to the middle by the whirlpool and nothing's being drawn to the outside by it spinning? We got to use our common sense here and stick to what we're reading in the book. So the waters he gathered together into one place, not a ball, into a place, still having a surface, because he put the raquia between the waters above and the waters beneath, which means the waters beneath have a surface. Okay? Tamshi, verse 11. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry, verse 10.
And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. He
called the dry land earth or land, Eretz. And the gathering together of the waters called he seas, Mayim. So, Yamim, rather, which is plural. Again, Mayim. Yam is a sea or an ocean or a body of water. And Yamim is plural, seas. And God saw that it was good. Everything that he made was good. Tamshi?
And God,
Verse 11.
Yeah. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And
God said, let the earth, this part is where we need to learn to think in Hebrew again. Tidashe haaretz deshe. Let the earth grass. The earth shall grass. That's what it says. Tidashe. Deshe is the word, or tideshe. Deshe is the word for grass or herb. Tideshe, deshe. Let the earth grass. And to us in English, this is just trying to make sense of Hebrew. Let it bring forth grass. Let it put forth grass. And the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree bearing fruit after its kind, wherein his seed is in thereof upon the earth, and it was so. Now, this is day 3. Day 3. No sun, no moon, but yet grass is growing. Okay? This is where scientists have a problem understanding, comprehending what Genesis 1 is teaching us. We don't need, they say, you need a sun to have photosynthesis. You can't have grass and plants and trees without photosynthesis. I don't read nothing about photosynthesis here. I read that the source of life itself, the creator himself, is speaking and things are coming into existence because he made it so when he spoke it. him being all powerful. And if you need that much explanation to believe God, you don't believe him, because you think that he's limited by the same system that he created to serve us. Let me say that again. If we need evidence beyond what we're reading in Genesis to wrap our minds around something other outside of what we've been taught in school or by science, and not adhere to these words for what they are saying, then we think God is limited by the same system that he created to serve us. The laws of physics that he made is to serve us. We just read a few weeks ago where he caused the elements to change in themselves for the deliverance of his people. The elements themselves serve the creature, or serve the creator to benefit his creatures. As he sees fit, he changes the laws of physics. He bends them. He plays a new tune to create a new harmony. And yet we still need explanations for everything. That means we don't believe God. The earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed before there was a sun and a moon, because God himself was present and he is the source of life. That's why he said, in the world to come, there will be no sun, for I will be a light to the world. And with his presence so close, this is why everything is going to live forever, because you're one again with God. You hear me say certain phrases, as I ain't read that in the book, where we're going to be one again with God. So what you think it means if we're going to be living forever in the world to come and God's presence is among us? What you think, we two? We different. No, we different. We can't be like God. Nobody said that. It's that we dwell in the same space as him, in harmony with the way that he created us, intended for us to serve him for eternity. Tamshi, verse 13.
And the evening and the morning were the third day.
And the evening, and there was evening, and there was morning. Day 3. Again, evening coming first, morning following. The pattern of a day. Tamshi, verse 14.
And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven. You see, we need man-created light bulbs. Let's change the way we think for a second, because we think that light must be contained in something in order for it to be a light. See, they taught us in school that the sun is a ball on fire, and this is what we understand that could emanate light. The moon is a rock, but it's not a light. It's reflecting the sun's light, and the reason why we only see shapes of light as the moon goes through her cycle, crescents, and then a little thicker until we got a half moon, and then it goes bigger until you get the full moon, and then that's when the light is reflecting, because the earth is not in the way anymore, and the light is reflecting. That's not what God said here. He said he created lights in the firmament, which means the lights are inside the firmament, not outside of it. You can't go outside of the earth to reach the moon. I mean, outside of the firmament to reach the moon. It's inside the firmament. Oh, it's so many million, thousand, trillion miles away. You cannot, we have to break a barrier of the stratosphere. Please, man, please. I don't read that in here, man. And I'm not going to go by NASA and what they teaching us in school, because it contradicts what I'm reading in Genesis. If we believe God, we go by what these words say. And don't tell me I have a lesser understanding than NASA when these men don't serve God and they don't go by these words, so they have no wisdom. These words are wisdom. They're not my words. I'm just quoting them and breaking it down according to the meaning of what they say. He said, in these lights, not something contained the light, not something that contains the light, but the light itself, which means if you have a flashlight, the bulb inside the flashlight is not the light. The light inside the bulb is the light. And then you could shine that light on something. But God don't need a bulb to hold the light, to contain the light. God just put the light there with nothing containing it. And I could go into some other stuff. They give you some that I can share some videos with you on about why the moon has the same face all over the world and why there are shadows that are facing us to prove that it is a light and it's reflecting off something. A light. Because it's the same everywhere you go in the earth. And if it was a ball and it's supposed to be moving, why is every face everywhere you go across the entire world the same face of the moon that we're looking at? If it's spinning, or if it's turning, or if it's not turning, they didn't say it was turning, but it's moving around, right? Around the ball, right? And if it's not spinning, when it moves around the ball, then when it gets to the other side, you will see the opposite side of the moon. Am I right or wrong? Right? Because on this side, my finger is looking at that side of my hand. But on this side is looking at the back of my hand. So if it was moving and it's not spinning, because they say it's not spinning, right? How come when it gets to the other side of the world, they see the same side of the moon as us? Something ain't right here. We got to think. We got to use our brain. See, they brainwash us to the point that we believe them over our own eyesight. This is crazy. But this is, and people will argue with you. No, man, it's a ball. It's a rock. I'm trying to tell you, it's reflecting the sunlight. Non-believers, man. Non-believers. And he said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. The lights divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years. Let that sink in for a second. Let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years. Because of the way that they move and travel, the lights inside the firmament, because of that, right, traveling along the inside of the firmament, always facing the same direction, no matter what side. That's why we always see the same side of the moon, right? They're for seasons because they dictate what time of year it is according to where they are located in the sky. The moon is not in the same place at the summertime in the sky that it is in the wintertime because it has a circuit, and that circuit is not a uniform pattern every single day. It's moving at a certain circuit. Same with the sun. That's why it's not always, even though it always rises in the east, it's not always directly above you. It's a little bit to the certain sides, depending on the season. And for days, because it dictates the beginning of a day at sunset, right? The moon, when the sun goes down and you see the moon, right? And the beginning of a day when the beginning of the daytime when the sun rises, right? The mixture of the light and the dark twice in a day, and for years, which we're going to get into some more next week because I'm compiling some evidence, some research about the calendar that we used, that Noah used. And there's proof in Genesis how many days there was in a year, and that it followed both the sun and the moon cycles. And it wasn't just a lunar calendar, and that the months were never counted by 28 days. And we'll also go into the book of Samuel to prove that. We'll talk about different parts in the book that prove that our calendar was just what it says here in Genesis chapter 14, that the sun and the moon is also for years to calculate the length of a year, both sun and moon. We follow the lunisolar calendar because we didn't worship one or the other. We worship the creator of them both, who put them there to show us signs, seasons, days, and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, even though he already created light. Okay? And it was so. Tom Shee, verse 16.
And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
He made two great lights. He didn't call them sun and moon. He said two great lights. The greater light to rule the day We know that's the sun. He don't got to call it that. We understand that there's only one light that rules the day and the lesser light to rule the night, which is the moon and the stars also. Where takokabim. Tamshi, verse 17.
And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
From now on, when you read the word heaven in this chapter, I want you to put an S at the end because it's plural. Okay, even though King James did a great job, we want to keep it according to what the translation is. And God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light upon the earth at day and at night. Tamshi, verse 18.
And to rule over the day over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
A second division of light and darkness. And to rule over the day and over the night, the sun to rule the day, the moon to rule the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. This is where we get the Ereb that we read throughout the rest of the book, not in this chapter where Ereb covers the whole portion of darkness of a day, and Boqer covers the whole portion of light during the day. Later on in the book, we're going to read Ereb covering the time of the mixture of light and dark, and even after sunset, it's still mixing and it's still considered Ereb. But something happens when the sun sets. And that's why Ereb also means a foregoing. A foregoing of what? The next day to come. And then also how Boqer is going to be used to describe the beginning part of the day outside of Genesis chapter 1. Because the book is telling us what God is referring to according to the rest of the context in this chapter. Okay? Now argue with me. Argue with the words. And see if God going to answer you. Because once we don't accept it for what it says, we are betraying our maker. We think ourselves smarter than God. He's trying to explain it. Imagine yourself trying to explain some complex situation to a toddler. This is God explaining to us the complexity of his creation in Genesis chapter 1 on a level that we can understand, without making it complicated, if we just adhere to what the words mean in context. Some of us didn't get too far in reading comprehension, and that's okay, because honestly, sometimes reading comprehension, according to the rules of English, make things more complicated. If we just stick to the meanings of the words in Hebrew, we'll be fine. Let's not overcomplicate things. And let's remove our opinions and our perceptions and come to this with an open mind, ready to learn, and let the words teach us what God meant. Okay, and there was evening and there was morning, day 4. Verse 20, Tamshi.
And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven.
Okay, what does this mean now? Let's see. Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures. Scientists said life came from the waters first. Matches up with Genesis chapter 1. And let the fowl fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. So the waters brought forth the creatures that have life. Now, this is where we're going to debunk the theory of evolution, understanding that things were not evolving during this 5th day. But creation was a process, because God don't rush to do nothing. This is why they could find fossils of creatures that existed, what they tell us is millions of years ago, which we know is a bunch of hogwash, right? But there are creatures that existed long ago that no longer exist today. And we're also going to get into how long were these first days, because he couldn't have had a 24-hour day before the sun and moon, because there wasn't even a light and dark cycle of day and night yet. So while these things were being created is what man would call evolution, to try to put a name on it to discredit God's creation. But they were forming as God was forming them. This is God's hand present in the forming of them as he was changing the environment of the earth and ground was coming up. Anybody ever heard of a volcano that emerges out of the bottom of the ocean and creates a small island? It still happens today. This is the land emerging out of the water. When he said, let the dry land appear, it just didn't go, and the dry land said, it's a process. And everything that God did was a process, because he doesn't rush to do anything. He takes his time as an example to show us that we need to put time into building things, and in great things that he created us in his image. We create things too, but you can't create things from nothing like God did. When it says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. By the way, that's 7 words in Hebrew. Just think of that for a second. The word for create is boreh. Bara. It means to create from nothingness. In case I skipped over that verse. To create from nothingness. We don't create from nothingness. We must use the elements that he created, that he gave to serve us, to create something. It's not the same type of creation. We don't have a word in English that means create the way God created things, from nothingness. This is another thing why we need to start thinking in Hebrew and not in English. Right? So as he's forming these things, they're taking on a gradual process of becoming the creature that he made, to the final stage of what it was going to be when he said, now it's good. And the day was, and it happened in the process of a day, evening and morning, darkness and light. From the beginning of the darkness to the end of the light, where it became dark again. And until there was a sun and the moon, the sun wasn't rising and setting. But it was still evening and morning, because it was still darkness and light, because he already had light and darkness and separated them with an adamant. I know this is hard to wrap your head around. I know this is, goes against everything that we've been taught, but we need to stick to the words for exactly what they say and give God his credit, without allowing our opinions or our perceptions to be molded by science or the indoctrinations that we were duped into believing in school. Okay, so he said, and the fowl also, the fowl, which means they came from the water. You think they just flew out of the water with feathers and everything? He made them with feathers in the water and they flew out with feathers? Some have flippers, some have claws. No, it was a process. Different species were being created and formed, not evolved. And during that process, he separated species after their kinds. Everything in its individuality, perfect the way he created it when he was done creating, which is what that process that they call evolution. There ain't no evolution. It was that day that things were formed. How could he do it in one day? Because those first days were not 24-hour days. Because he takes his time to do everything. Because the one part in the book says yesterday is as 1,000 years in the eyes of God. So by using what the book says, I am going to safely assume by that concept of what I read in the book that the first days would have been equivalent to 1,000 years in our time. Which means the sun was up for half that time, or however many it is, 3/4 of that time, because sometimes we have 18 hours of sunlight, sometimes we have 12 hours of sunlight, depending on the season. So we had light and dark for the span of 1,000 years on those first 6 days. That's why there's no such thing as anything being millions of years old. Because from the time from Adam and Eve eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil until the flood was 1,600 years. Do the math. How you do that is the time that the firstborn son, how old he was when he had his firstborn son. And then you add up those years until you get to Noah. And then you add 600 years to Noah, because the flood happened in the 600th year of his life. And you're going to get 1,600 years. And that was 10 generations. from Adam to Noah. We're the billions of years. Now, we don't know how long Adam and Eve were on the earth before they ate of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We don't know how long Adam was alone by himself before God made Eve from his rib. But we can deduce from what we read in the rest of the book that God's saying that a day is as 1,000 years in his eyes, that the first days were 1,000 years each, according to our time. Remember, God is always speaking to us according to our understanding of things, to simplify it, because we don't understand things on his level. I think one of my brothers or both of them taught that today. We can't understand things the way God understands. So he gives us words that we can comprehend. All we have to do is stick to those words. It's not complicated. Just erase everything that you thought before and hold these as your foundation for all truths. That's it. It's not complicated. It's very simple. And if we have a problem with that, we don't believe God. Simple as that. Okay? Verse 22.
And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth.
He blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. So as they were creating, they were being fruitful. They were procreating. They were gendering. They were making babies. And let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the fowls were multiplying also. Like they tell us about amphibious creatures. Some animals, like penguins, still live in the ocean and on land, but they don't fly. But they're considered birds. Right? Some animals, some birds like ducks still go in the water, dive deep down. Seagulls dive deep down, feed on fish, come up, and then fly. Ducks fly for a little bit, but spend most of their time on the ground and in the water. This was a process of birds being created, each one after his kind. Perfect in its own individuality, the way God made them. And when he saw them, he said they were good. Tom Sheet, verse 23.
And in the evening
and
the morning.
And the evening, not in the evening.
In the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
And there was evening and there was morning, day 5. This God numbering the first days. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. That's how it translates. Tom Sheet, verse 24.
And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and a creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And this is what scientists have found, that organisms in the earth, where there's water under the earth, right? Because there's water is where first life was formed, right? And they came forth. This is why God could create man from the dust of the ground, but yet 75% of our body is considered water, right? By the way, our body and Adam, or rather say mankind, Adam in reference to mankind, is a mirror image of the earth from which we were made, because the earth's surface is 75% water and the rest solid mass. So is our body, 75% water and the rest solid mass, because we were made from the earth. It makes perfect sense. And if you look inside the human body on a molecular or a mineral level, you'll see that every single mineral that's found in the earth is in our body. Iron, even gold, at minute portions. Zinc, silver, it's all in our body. That's why silver and gold are actually good for us. It helps boost our immune system. This is why wearing certain silver and gold helps boost your immune system and your awareness. It's not a coincidence. It's not a myth either. It's because this is what we're made of. You think man just came up with wearing these things to be flashy? You think kings wore these things just to be flashy? They wore it because they were looked upon as gods and people that had insight that the people didn't have. And by wearing these things, they were more aware. They were in better health.
God commanded us to wear certain things. He didn't say what to make it out of. Right? But to us, who is different, who is the children of his people, who he promised and made a covenant to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, his words is the life to us. His words is the healing to us. His words is the strength to us. And if you live by that, listen, I don't care what they do to the fruits and vegetables. Because if you live by God's word, he'll make the fruits and vegetables do you good. I read in the book where it said these things are essential for man's life. And it mentions salt. It mentions milk. It mentions honey. And by the way, we drank the milk. We didn't drink breast milk when we were grown men. We drank the milk of goats, sheep, and cattle. And those things are essential for man's life, it said. Not sugar, honey, wheat. Right? It mentioned all these things. Water. And it said it does good to the righteous, but it does harm to the wicked. The same thing that's essential for your life will do you harm when you don't adhere to these words. Dig that. All we got to do is believe God, keep his commandments, live by these words, speak them every single day. And ain't got nothing to worry about. And because of our sins and the sins of our fathers, whatever affects us, so be it. It's supposed to happen. I'm okay with it. Well, I'm going to be mad or, God did it. What am I going to complain about? God did it because of our unfaithfulness. Tom Sheen.
And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
God saw that it was good. He made it of the beast from the earth, right? So not everything came from the waters, but there are beasts of the earth that he made from the earth. So why Solomon said, who knoweth that the spirit of beasts to go downward and the spirit of man to go upward? We were made from the same thing. We corrupted the beasts. Everything is affected. Everything that is created is connected to us because we were all made from the same thing. God made the beasts of the field. We never read in here where he breathed life into them. They don't contain the same spirit that we have, which is the spirit of God, which is the breath of God, to be more specific. But they have life. He created them living, just like he created trees and flowers living. They have a life. Did you know that even a fruit after you pick it, or a grain after you dry it out in the sun, still has life? That's why things spoil, because there's a time, a lifespan. And that lifespan for all living things has been cut short because of our sins, because we are connected to everything in existence that he created, not only to serve us, but out of the same elements that he made us. Tom Sheen, verse 26.
And God said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Now, let us make man in our image. This is a misconception that Christians say, oh, he's talking to JC. No, he's talking to the thing that we knew that existed, that could understand him at that time, which were angels. Oh, I didn't read about where he created the angels because he didn't have to tell you that. Because when it says Elohim, the angels are included. Elohim is also a reference to God, Ha Elohim, and his angels. But in the beginning, it didn't say Ha Elohim Boreh. It says Elohim Boreh. You know why? Because when God think, the angels move. Just like the fingers on a hand. You don't have to tell your hand, hey, go do that. And your hand go, what? What did you say? I said, grab that cup right there. They go, oh, okay. And they just do as you think. And that's the same way the angels react, because they're one with God. And that's why they are also included in Elohim. And that's why Elohim is plural, not just because God is ubiquitous and in all places at the same time, but he is one with his angels. And there are many. 10,000s of them were round about him, it says in the book. That's 1,000,000 if you do the math. 10,000 times 10,000. And that's just the ones that were round about him. What about the rest of them? Okay, and he said, let us make man after our image, talking to the angels, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air For the dominion, he says, okay, Yirdu. Huh? After our likeness, Kidmutenu, after our likeness, Yirdu. Let them be upon, let them rise up, descend upon, right? Have dominion over. This is part of the logic of the Hebrew language. The fish of the sea, the fowls of the air, the cattle, and over all the earth and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Okay, you ever wonder why, it's still happening today, even though we're wicked? He didn't take these things away from us. That's why men still control the ocean, the creatures, maybe not all of it, but they do with them as they please when they feel like it. They go down in there with their submersibles and do whatever they do. They come up and they put animals in the zoo, and God don't take that dominion away from us. And God created.
So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them.
Wayibra, and God created from nothing. Elohim, right? God created from nothing. Et ha'adam betzalmo, in his likeness, in his image. Betzelem Elohim, in the image of God, bara oto, created from nothing, him. Zakar unekeba, bara otam, male and female created he them, or made from nothing them. Tamshi, here's where it gets interesting.
And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
And God blessed them, male and female. Wayibarek otam, God blessed them, Elohim, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea, which means he gave also the dominion over everything in the earth to both Adam and Eve. They were one. They are referred to as Adam, and that's also in Genesis chapter 5, where he called them Adam in the day when they were created. Adam does not only mean man, it means mankind. And according to the context that we're reading here, he created mankind in his image and gave them the dominion, both of them, as one. Tamshi.
And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. Right.
So he said, I give you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree which is in the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, which is a better word, or for food, rather say. Le'akla, for eating, for food, for meat, because even the flesh part of a fruit is meat. It's not only what is considered the flesh of an animal, right? And that's called basar, something different in Hebrew, right? You read the word lechem, and it sometimes refers to food, not just bread. In this case, it's le'akla, for eating. Everything that was growing on a tree or the herb of the field that bears seed. And everything bears seed at that time because it was made to reproduce itself. Right? So today we have things that man attempted to diminish or create varieties where there's no seed. And from working on a farm and from doing my research, I also learned that when you graft something or you take a clone of something, which is when you cut a branch off of a tree and you plant that branch into soil and you add what is called a rooting solution and you continue to water it, it causes that branch, the rooting solution will make that branch develop roots, and then it will turn into a whole nother tree. The more you do that over and over, that grows into a tree with seeds. And then you take it off and you do another branch and you do this over and over, generation after generation of this tree by cutting off branches and making it root and create its own tree. After a while, what happens is the seeds get smaller and smaller. That's why today we cut open oranges and it got them little tiny seeds. Listen, I'm eating it. Once it got a little tiny seed, I'm eating it. If it ain't got no seeds, I'm throwing it away. But I'm going to check. And if it got them little seeds, I'm eating it because it ain't my fault. I didn't plant it. So I ain't got to forfeit nothing because I'm not the one that planted it. And I'm not the one. And it's not a diverse fruit either. It's not mixed. So once I know it's not mixed, by the way, all the fruits and vegetables that we eat today are not the same way that God created them. Because not only from man hybriding fruits and vegetables, certain fruits and vegetables became hybrids of the original from cross-pollination, which is when the wind blows and blows the pollen of one tree, flowers, lands 10, 50 miles away, because pollen can fly up to 50 to 100 miles away and land on another crop during pollination, which is when the plants are reproducing. And it's just like the plant got impregnated by the pollen of a different plant, and then it develops the varieties or characteristics of that particular plant. When I was working on a farm, we were growing a certain type of flower, and we were in wine country. So we couldn't understand why the flower was turning purple. It wasn't a purple variety. And only purple varieties end up producing in cold weather because the cold makes the leaves turn purple because of a reaction, right? On a molecular level, but we were in a warm region, so we couldn't understand why this is happening. And then we understood that it's because during pollination, the wind is blowing the pollen from all these wineries that are around us, from the vineyards that are growing purple and red grapes, and the pollen was landing on our flowers, and that was creating an effect that where they cross-pollination happened, and they took on a variety, the purple color of the grapes that were surrounding us, right? Of the vineyards that were surrounding our farm. So we have to keep all of these things in mind, that when we look at our fruits and vegetables today, they're not all the same as when God made them, because natural things like that have been happening for thousands of years now. Even what they ate in Egypt is not the same melons that we eat today. Go look it up. A watermelon. Look up a picture of a watermelon from 100 years ago. It don't look the same as the picture of the watermelons that we have today. Look at the watermelon from when you was a kid to today. They're not the same. And not only because man has been doing it, but because of environmental factors, right? So it's both. So what we need to do is stick to the law about not planting fruits and vegetables of hybrid. And if you want to stay away from hybrids, I got news for you. You got to stay away from garlic. You got to stay away from carrots. And from what I read, our fathers ate garlic in the book, but there is so-called proof that it's a hybrid root or vegetable. They still can't understand which one it is, right? And so we gotta, this is where wisdom come in. If it got a seed, I'm gonna eat it. But then again, does garlic have a seed? But you still eat it. You ever seen a carrot seed, but you still eat it? You ever seen a broccoli seed, but you still eat it? You ever seen a lettuce seed, but you still eat it? So unless you're going to become a breatharian, or aquatarian, I don't want to hear it. We not the ones that planted it. We not the ones guilty of this sin. Okay? So don't be over much righteous. Don't be over much wise. For why shouldest thou die before thy time? I'm not wiser than my teacher. He stopped eating carrots at one point and started juicing pumpkin because he needed it for the beta carotene. When he found out that carrots were a hybrid, he said, man, I got to just use pumpkin because, from the books that we have, it doesn't say that pumpkin is a hybrid. So he's juicing pumpkin. And then we started looking into all other fruits and vegetables to find out that most of what we eat today are hybrids, and that you don't get the seed from any of the vegetables that you buy. And he said, man, listen, man, I'm not the one that did it. This is part of the punishment for our sins. So he started back juicing carrot juice and drank it every day, or mostly, right? And I'm not wiser than my teacher, and I'm not more righteous than my teacher. So I'm going to follow him. You could do what you want to do, right? I'm not going to be over much holy or over much wise. I don't want to die before my time. I want to live out just the amount of days that God has set for me without me breaking or while adhering, I should say, to the principles of wisdom that he showed us in this book. And God said, verse 30, and to every beast of the earth,
and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so.
And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is a living soul, is what it says in Hebrew. Asher bo nefesh chaya, which means the beasts have a living soul in them. It's not the breath of life of God, but he created them to have a living soul. I don't know what these clones are. I don't know what they got in them, but God didn't create them with a living soul. And he said, every green herb is for food for them. That's how it translates. And it was so. Tom Shee.
And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
And the evening and the morning, and there was evening and there was morning, day 6. Okay? We'll go over the Shabbat on another day. This is Genesis chapter 2. We can start there. Next, just to confirm what the turning point of the day is, I want everybody to go to Leviticus chapter 22. Start from the top. Tom Shee.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and to his sons, that they separate themselves from the holy things of the children of Israel, and that they profane not my holy name in those things which they hallow unto me. I am the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Say unto them, whosoever he be of all your seed among your generations, that goeth unto the holy things which the children of Israel hallow unto the Lord, having his uncleanness upon him, that soul shall be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord.
Let's make it a little bigger, okay? Doing great, by the way. So, speaking to the children of Aaron, whosoever be of all the seed of Aaron, of the priests, that approach to the holy things, because this is of the seed of Aaron that are offering offerings, which they hallow unto the Lord, having his uncleanness upon them, which means that they got unclean too, or they could perchance get unclean. That soul shall be cut off from before me if he approached to offer an offering while he is unclean. Tom Shee, verse 4.
What man soever of the seed of Aaron is a leper, or hath a running issue, he shall not eat of the holy things until he be clean. And whoso toucheth anything that is unclean by the dead, or a man whose seed goeth from him, or whosoever toucheth any creeping thing, whereby he may be made unclean, or a man of whom he may take uncleanness, whatsoever uncleanness he hath. The soul which hath touched any such shall be unclean until even, and shall not eat of the holy things unless he wash his flesh with water.
Telling us that even the priests of the sons of Aaron that's supposed to remain clean in their uncleanness, and they are holy and cannot leave the grounds of the tabernacle, is a possibility that they could also get unclean. Toucheth one that is unclean by the dead, or whosoever the flow of seed goeth out from, or whosoever toucheth any swarming thing or creeping thing, whereby he may be made unclean, or a man of whom he may take uncleanness. Whatsoever uncleanness he had, the soul that touched shall wash his clothes, shall be unclean unto the even, and shall not eat of the holy things unless he bathe his flesh in water. So he's going to be unclean to the even, and he can't eat the holy things unless he bathe his flesh in water. Verse 7, Tom Shee.
And when the sun is down, he shall be clean, and shall afterward eat of the holy things, because it is his food.
Okay, so he can't eat of the holy things until he washes himself, right? Wrong. He can't eat of the holy things until he washes himself, and then the sun is down. Then he could eat of the holy things. So the washing is not the only thing that got him clean. Because if he washed, by the way, it says he shall wash at even. And the soul that touched any of this shall wash at even. Ereb, right? Cleanness he hath. And when the sun is down, Ashemesh wetaher. So the soul, asher tigabo, nefesh asher tigabo, the soul that had touched any such, with tam'ah, is unclean and is unclean, ad ha'areb, until the even, where lo yokal min ha'kwadashim, and he shall not eat of the holy things, ki im rakatz bisaro b'mayim, until he washed his clothes with water, and when the sun is down, he shall be clean. Uba hashemesh, when the sun goes down, with taher, then he is clean, and he is clean. So that's telling us, he said, and afterward he may eat of the holy things, which means he can't eat of the holy things till he's clean, which is after sundown. So why is he not clean after he washed before sundown? Because there's a time frame between evening in the Ereb, and he's going to wash during that time, and the sun ain't going to be down yet. Why does he have to wait until sundown in order to eat of the holy things and to be clean? If there's not something that changed. Something changed when the sun went down. And you know what that thing is? A new day began. So he was to remain unclean even after washing until the end of that day. And after sunset, a new day came in, and now he is clean. And if we can't see that, we're stubborn. Because you're going to have to explain to me what changed after sundown to where he became clean. Oh, because God said it was sunset. And why wasn't he clean after washing? Which God just told us in the previous verse that he'll be unclean until he washed. But it didn't say he was clean until after sunset. So the washing did not make him clean. The sunset after washing made him clean. You got to explain to me what changed. If it's not a day. Okay, we're off of that now. Let's go to Exodus chapter 18, because now we need to talk about what makes us faithful. What are the qualities of a faithful man? What are the qualities of a faithful man? Because without being faithful, we won't believe God. Without believing God, we won't be loyal to God. We will betray God. We will go outside of the order of life that he set up and speak against it and act against it. We will break his laws. We will give justification and reasons why we don't do certain laws, reasons why we believe things outside of the order of life that he set up and explained to us through these words. With all these scientific and physics and all this stuff, these indoctrinations that they tricked us into believing. You look at the sun, you watch it go like this. You do like this every day. You watch the sun rise. You watch it go throughout the sky. You watch it set. And then you say, oh, we're moving, not the sun. And we can't understand that we've been indoctrinated. That's a heavy, deep sleep. That's what God said in the book of Isaiah. He will put upon them tardema, a deep sleep. Because we refuse to hearken to him. Because we're stubborn. Because we're proud. Because we think we're smarter than our maker. So go to Exodus 18 and go to verse 17. Tamshi, when you get it.
And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone.
Good. Tap him for me and wake him up. I should have noticed. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. Hey, sit up and pay attention. This is not nap time. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing, go put water on your face and come back. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. Because Moses is sitting to judge the people. It's over 3 million people. Every time somebody got a problem, go put water on your face and come back. Every time somebody got a problem, they come to Moses, and it's overbearing. It's too much for him. He can't do it himself alone. The greatest men had a team with them or under them. And this is what we're seeing, where even though Moses is the only one that understands all of the statutes, commandments, and judgments of God, because God did not only speak it to him, he made him see it and showed him visions up in that mountain and put the enlightenment in him. This is why his spirit came down, his face came down shining, because his spirit was glowing, right? And his father-in-law saw it, Jethro, and said, this is not good. He said, you surely going to waste away both thou and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. It's too many people. You can't do it yourself alone. Hearken now unto my voice, and I will give thee counsel, and God be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, toward God. Lead them to God. Show them what is the right way before God, and bring thou the causes unto God. Jethro, mind you, when he says bring thou the causes, hadebarim, el ha Elohim, unto the God. Because we just got through in this chapter where Jethro heard of all the things that Moses told him about. And he said, God is God above all gods. After hearing this, as he know Moses ain't no liar. And he believed him. And he might have heard, because he lived not too far from there in Midian. And he took burnt offerings and sacrifices for God. This is a part also, verse 12, that is something to note. That, hey, sit up. You're not laying down. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. And Aaron came and all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. Aaron, the high priest, ate with Moses' father-in-law before God. How is Jethro, not one of the Levites, offering an offering that is acceptable to God, and Aaron and the elders ate of it, or ate with him? So Jethro knew how to offer. How did he know how to offer? Well, Jethro's of the family of the Kenites, who come from Midian, also a nation born out of another nation, because Abraham's the father of many nations, Midian being, I believe, one of the grandsons of Abraham through the children of Keturah, right? Medan, Dedan, right? Those guys, Ishbak, Shua, right? Sheba, right? And that means that how to offer an offering was passed down to Abraham's sons through Keturah also. Ishmael knew these things also. They knew how to offer offerings that was acceptable to God. Some of them turned aside into pagan worship. But Jethro still knew how to offer an offering that was acceptable to God, and offered an offering to where Aaron and the elders ate with him. That's why Jethro was such a wise man, still adhering to certain things that his fathers taught him from the teachings of Abraham. And Moses' father-in-law said, when they have a matter, and it comes to thee, what verse is that? 19. Breathe out to Godward, and bring thou the causes unto Ha Elohim. And he called them the God. Ha Elohim. Tamshi, verse 20.
And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do.
Show them the way wherein they must walk, which was mean how you live your life, how you treat people, how you behave, your ways. Teach them the statutes and the laws. Walking in the thou shalls and thou shalt nots will teach us the ways of God. Because when you start to help your enemy or the one that hated you, you are going to have a change of heart. And that change of heart is going to cause you to walk in the ways of God. So by performing the laws, even against your own feelings at first, it's going to change your heart into developing the ways of God. And thou shalt not will help you learn and walk in the ways of God. What's up, you tired? Okay, sit up, please. And then show them the way that wherein they must walk and the work that they must do. Because it takes work to keep these laws. You got to put work in. You got to make fringes on all your vestures. You got to sew them on or super glue them to where they ain't coming off. Yeah, these super glued. And it ain't coming off. I could wash this. People keep saying, oh, it's going to come off. It's going to come off. Maybe one or two after a while. And I just super glue it again. It's permanently attached. Or some of them I still have from when I was sewing it. But I'm able to do it faster. And that's why I started the super glue. But you can't remove it unless you cut it off. Or after time, many washes. The same way a thread would come out if you sewed it on. The point is, it should be permanently fixed or attached to. That's what the word al, when it says you shall put fringes upon, al, kanfot, bigdehem, the corners of your garments. Right? Arba, big kanfot, 4 corners. Come stand up right here and stand on point. And that's just part of the work. It takes a lot of work to do these laws. Get unclean things out of your house. Create a separation, keligeber, men and women's things in your house. You know, you got to get rid of certain things and replace them. No mingle clothes, replace them. Right? It takes work to do these laws. So you teach them the way wherein they must walk, the changing of their ways, and the work that they must do to get right with God. Tom Sheet, 21.
Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee.
All right. So sit down right here. And you shall provide out of all the people able men. Right? The word for able men is anshe chayil. Don't act like that. You just pay attention, okay? Able men. Anshe chayil. Men of fortitude. Because in order for them to be judges of the people, they have to be men of faithfulness. We have to be able to trust them. They have to be trustworthy. They have to be men of truth. They have to be strong enough to not be afraid of the people and judge with partiality. They have to have spiritual fortitude. Now let's look up what is, because when it says anshe kayil, it doesn't say able. It says men of fortitude. Now let's see what fortitude is. Fortitude, by definition, refers to the mental and emotional strength that allows a person to endure pain, adversity, or danger with courage. It combines steadfast bravery with long-term perseverance. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but to him that can endure. Long-term perseverance, that you don't break under pressure. You have to have mental and emotional strength. True strength doesn't come from muscles. It comes from here and in here. Pick your head up. It comes from in here and here. The heart and the mind. To control your emotions. The ability to keep unreasonable fear or discouragement under control. You know what's unreasonable fear? The type of fear that everybody is afraid of this, but you find it You keep it. Well, there is no reason for you to have it if you believe God. But most people fear man. So we give ourselves reason to be afraid. But it's really unreasonable, because they can't do you nothing without God delivering you to their hands. And if you think God ain't going to defend you for sticking up for what's right, then we don't believe God. Unreasonable fear or discouragement under control. Don't let what nobody says discourage you, or else that's not fortitude. Fortitude is, man, listen, I don't care what everybody say. I know what God said, and he created me in his image. And if I stick to what he said is right, he got my back. He said, I will be your rear ward. That's the army that's behind you. Just like the man told, Elisha told the servant. He said, there's more that be with us than they would be that be with them. Man, I used to say, man, I ain't want to post that, man, because the algorithm, and they're going to block me and all. I don't care. Block what you want to block. You already flagged me already. You already know who I am. The government know who we are. I don't care. I'm going to speak what God said is right. Whoever don't like it, you know what to do. Resolute endurance, patience, and stamina when facing prolonged hardships or difficulties. You know what that means? Patience. Be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. You know what that means? Don't panic. Don't try to take matters into your own hands. Don't panic and break down under pressure. Stamina, meaning hold on, being enduring to what is right and adhering to your trust in God, even when you're facing prolonged hardships. Nothing is changing. You're still in the hospital. You're still sick. It ain't getting better. You're staying a long time in prison. You're staying a long time in this situation where you are changed to a low estate, but you don't break. You keep your trust in God. God ain't answer you after you ask him something. You keep asking. While it can refer to physical facing of danger, it heavily emphasizes emotional backbone and steady resolve. What is resolve? Resolve is come on now. Resolve. Okay. He didn't want to go. Okay, here we go. A firm determination to do something, or the act of settling a problem. Determination to do something or the act of settling a problem. It can be both. For resolving a situation. It can both function as a noun, which is a state of mind, determination, or a verb, which is an action. Moses settling problems, or the men who he appointed to settle a problem or a dispute. A fixed purpose or solid internal strength to stick to a decision no matter what. To find a clear solution to a problem or argument, this is the verb, or a dispute. To make a firm, definitive choice to take a specific action, this is a verb. If we don't have these things, if we don't show that we have these things when we're under pressure, or we're in an adversity or pain or danger, and show that type of courage to endure, to stick to what is right, to adhere to what is right, and not bending or wavering under pressure, then we don't have fortitude. And that person is not faithful. That person cannot be trusted. That person is wishy-washy. That person is like a leaf in the wind. And whichever way the wind blows, they're going to go. The law will give you this strength. If you just believe God, stick to these words, adhere to it, understand what he made you and how he made you and what you are made up from. And don't forget that you are the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob, the man who wrestled an angel and prevailed. Hence, God changed his name to Israel, him to have dominion or power or strength with God. This is how you got to talk to yourself. And don't let nothing break you down. And I had to talk to somebody the other day to say, how you know you ain't the children of Israel? Or because I've been taught that, I'm not of one of the tribes. Because somebody told you don't bear these characteristics. Well, I'm going to tell you something. God don't make mistakes. And Deuteronomy chapter 4 said that when you be in your enemies' lands, and all the nations whither I have scattered thee, in the latter days, if you seek me with all your heart and with all your soul, ye shall find me. And seeking God with all your heart, with all your soul, and you found the God of Israel, you were seeking and you found the God of Israel, you must be the seed of Israel, because that prophecy was spoken through Moses to the seed of Israel. Not to mention in Exodus chapter 24, which I had a lot of things to bring today, but I'm just going to hit the highlights for you, where Moses sprinkled the blood of the covenant on the people. And he said, I make this covenant not only with us that stand here with this day, but with them that are not here with us this day, which means that blood, which I like to refer to the law as a pomegranate. That blood, like the juice of a pomegranate stains a garment, stained the DNA of our fathers. And that blood of the covenant is seen in our DNA throughout every generation since then. And in all the places of the earth where he scattered us, God could see that blood of the covenant on our DNA and in our soul. And he knows who we are. And if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul, you will find him, because you were, or you are, the seed of Israel. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what nation you were born in. God knows his people. And if you happen to bump into this, because if you're a female and you got with a man that was doing this already, that might know who he is, and you still feel like you're not of the seed of Israel, and you feel unworthy, because many generations of men has caused women to feel weak, and all she wants to do is be reminded of who she was at creation, when she was one with Adam, and she shared the dominion, and she was treated as one. And the same way we want our women to go to be one with us, we should treat her that way. The same way we want her to treat us as she is one with us, we should treat her that way and encourage that. How you know you ain't of the seed of Jacob? God don't make mistakes. And why he paired you with that man? I ain't gonna say wake up, Jacob. Wake up, Rachel. This is for you. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 66. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We didn't go through the rest of the qualities of this man. There were these faithful men that were chosen. So Anshe Chayil, right? Men of strength, men of fortitude, right? Men of truth, it said, no, such as fear God. How do you know if someone fears God? Because they ain't gonna budge. How do you know if they fear God? Because they make sacrifices for God's laws. How do you know if one fear God? Because he do the law or accept the rebuke and admit that he's wrong, even in front of people when it makes him look bad. Even in front of his wife, where she says, well, you telling me to do this, but what about you? And he don't go, shut up. I'm correcting you right now. You don't try to correct me. In his Tracy Morgan voice. Instead, he goes, you're right. I was wrong. Because when truth is spoken and we don't back down and humble ourselves to it, we don't fear God. We're proud. Regardless who's speaking it. My son said to me one time, Abba, you said that when we give our word, we got to keep it. I said, that's right, son. He said, well, you remember the time when you promised us that you was going to do, and I had to say, yeah, you're right, son. Okay, come on, let's do it. He said, you said it was going to be this time. I said, okay. What are we teaching our children? How we live our lives proves if we fear God. Such as fear God will always adhere or conform or convert, because we ain't always right. We will conform or convert our feelings, our thoughts, our actions, and our words to the law. That's how you know if a man fear God. He will make changes in his ways. He ain't gonna stay the same, because only a fool stays the same. But a wise man change often. Men of truth. Huh? What does it say for men of truth? Anshe emet. Men of truth. You can't be a liar and be a judge. You can't bend your words. You got to be a man of truth. You got to stick to the truth regardless, even when it's against you. We got to hear teachers and go, yup, that's for me. Not, that's him right there. I know that's her. I know. See. Yeah, people ain't right before God. You cut off. Men of truth don't act like that. I ain't never hear none of the righteous men in the book speak like that. I've always heard them say, we have sinned. And some of them ain't never sinned that said those words. One specifically, the prophet, priest, and servant of the Most High, Ezra. Hating unjust gain. Soneh batzar. Hating unjust gain. That's what it said. Hating covetousness. Because when you covet, you're going to take unjust gain. You can't be a judge and love unjust gain, or always looking to gain something, because then somebody could buy you. Men of truth, such as fear God, and men of fortitude, cannot be bought. There is no price tag that will cause them to break the laws of God. There is nothing you could give them or promise them where they would bend the rules of judgment of God in your favor. So these are the qualities of faithfulness, and this is the order of life that God set up. You can't go aside and not adhere to these qualities and still call ourselves faithful. Isaiah chapter 66. Isaiah chapter 66.
Wait, oh, okay.
Come on now.
The first
Wake
verse?
up, Jacob.
First verse?
No, let's go straight to the spot. Yeah, start from verse 1. It's on verse 2 where we're going.
Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne.
Hold on a second. Yes, Princess Medina, those men were different, but not much different from us. All they did is follow the formula. We could be those men. And women, you could be those women. I heard my brother teachings a while back, a couple weeks ago, and he said, you know why God gave us these laws? You know why he showed us his ways? So that we could be Abraham, so that we could be a Moses, and not say, oh, I could never be them. You know what I'm saying? And yes, they were different, but I'm different. And that's the way we need to speak to ourselves. I'm different. I'm just like them. God made me. I'm cut from the same cloth. I could say over and over, there'll never be another chief of chief Eleazar. Or I could say, you know what? That might be true, but I'm going to strive my best to be like him. I'm going to strive my best to be like him, because what he always taught us is when you shoot for the stars, even if you miss, you still be amongst the clouds. And ain't nobody else amongst the clouds today. So you could be perfect and upright in this generation, like Noah. Tom Shee. Thus saith the Lord.
Thus saith the Lord.
The heaven.
The heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me? And where is my place of my rest?
Right. The heavens is his throne. The earth is his footstool. He said, man, where's the house you built for me? Because I don't see it. It's defiled. In the time of Isaiah. You think I need that place? Y'all need that place. Y'all need the temple, not me. The temple is for y'all. So that we can join you through offerings to God. So that you can make an atonement for sin. So that you can make peace with God through your peace offerings. When you turn aside, when we betray our maker, when we break the order of life in faithfulness to our maker. The heavens is his throne, the earth is his footstool. Tom Shee. Now take that out your head where you're picturing God's feet on a ball, because that's not what we just read. Okay, Tom Shee.
For all those things hath mine hand made, and all those things have been, saith the Lord. But to this man will I look, even to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembleth at my word.
So God said this is the man that he's going to look at. Well, El Zeh Abit, and unto this will I look. El Ani, unto the poor, unto the afflicted, it says. And that's a better translation. Because we just read that a man of fortitude have to suffer pain, danger, hardships. And he will endure that affliction. But yet he has a contrite spirit, a Nike Ruach. What is Nike? What is a Nike Ruach? Because we need to get to the bottom of this. What it says for a contrite spirit. Nike Ruach. Nike in the dictionary says Smitten. Opposite. Nike. No, cock up. Wrong one. Here it goes. Let's get back. Smitten. To smite is the verb. Nike ruach is a smitten spirit, smitten down. It also means contrite, inflicting of injury upon an enemy. In this case, inflicting suffering upon his own spirit. Nike. Okay, there's a long definition here, but what fits us right here is the smiting, or the smiting of the spirit, and that also is contrite, a definition of Nike. So let's look up contrite. I mean, who's smiting the spirit? The individual, because whatever's happening to him, he's enduring it, and he's putting himself through affliction in order to bend and break himself to get right with God. Not that something bad happened to him. No, he's saying, I'm not going to give in to my pleasures. I'm going to deprive you, oh spirit, of your pleasures. I'm going to deprive you of your desires in order to do what's right with God. I'm not going to give in to the lusts and the desires of my own heart, but I'm going to do what God said, and even if it means I got to suffer. That's contrite. The feeling or showing sincere remorse, guilt, or deep regret for doing something wrong. That sounds like the beginning of uprightness to me, because the definition of upright is conscientious. When you look up conscientious, it says to have a conscience. You look up conscience, it says the feeling of obligation to make good that which was done wrong. So it first has to start with a feeling where you show sincere remorse and guilt and deep regret for doing something wrong. And how do you know it's sincere? Because that person's going to do something about it. They ain't just going to go, yeah, man, I'm sorry, man. I ain't mean to do it for you. I'm sorry. And you don't see nothing else coming after that. No amends. We heard last week where there's no true repentance without making amends. So this is the type of spirit we need if we're going to prove ourselves faithful before God. Often describes someone who's apologetic, repentant, and wishes to atone for their mistakes. Remorseful, repentant. Now, I don't know if I have enough time to read all of this, but I'm going to read some of it. This is something called Stone Truths, and it's based on some notes that I took and words that I wrote inspired by what we read in the book. Blessed be El Shaddai, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the true and living God, who called his servant Moses up to the holy mount of God, even Mount Sinai, and inscribed with his finger his holy and righteous law, the foundation of all truth, in stone, upon the tablets, cut out of the rock by his hand for the sake of preserving the seed of his people Israel throughout all the generations of the earth, thus establishing his covenant by the just ordering of the law, connected with all things in existence, to give life to all that keep it, but destruction to those who oppose it. For these truths engraved in stone hold the keys to life itself, and thereby is the heart made pure. For truth is the only purgative of corruption. Therefore, like the law of God, were they set in stone by the creator and giver of life, and cannot be altered nor overruled by any, for they are the foundation of all things. Move that box and turn on that fan for me, please. And his truth will prevail over all forever. When we reach a certain level of humility, a certain height of understanding, we learn that our emotions do not have the power to change reality, but our thoughts and actions do, so long as they do not aim to disrupt the divine order of life. Though reality is relative to the viewpoint of the perceiver, perception deceives its own master. Yet there is but one established sovereignty of truth, the inescapable truths set forth by the order of the highest, ordained by the creator of all things in existence from the beginning, which changeth not, but will endure forever. Though man change, pervert, pollute, or corrupt all things that were made, with all his power granted him of God, all are subject to the will and judgment of the Almighty, for all remain under his jurisdiction alone. And at the appointed time, in his time, his judgment will be done. For he made man upright, a little lower than the angels, with the power to make sound decisions, and therefore man shall be held accountable for his words, thoughts, and actions, regardless of opinions, feelings, ignorances, circumstances, desires, burdens, or struggles. For who can say, I knew not, as if he had not the wherewithal to seek it out? As King Solomon, the son of God's beloved King David, wrote in the book of the Wisdom of Solomon, which wicked men attempted to hide from the children of Israel, removing this and other writings of our fathers out of the Tanakh, also known as the Old Testament. Okay. When the children of Belial among our fathers who fell out to the Romans and sold themselves to do after the manner of the heathen following Hellenism were commissioned to write idolatrous books of falsehood in defiance of our God, to deceive the generations to follow, causing them to turn to the self-serving worship of the sun god, introduced to the post-Diluvian world through the ancient teachings of that wicked Nimrod, to replace the books of our fathers that were omitted with blasphemous books of deception that disgustingly mislead the unlearned to believe that God is a man, and that through believing in a man, a false representation of God, without any action proving faithful, that the law would be abolished. This done with the intent that every man might forfeit his own soul in following after the lust of his own heart. King Solomon, so fittingly put in the eloquence of wisdom, wrote, surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of God, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent water or the lights of heaven to be the gods which govern the world, which with whose beauty, if they being delighted took them to be gods, let them know how much better the Lord of them is. For the first author of beauty had created them. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionably, the maker of them is seen. But yet, for this they are less to be blamed. For they peradventure err, seeking God and desirous to find him. For being conversant in his works, they search him diligently and believe their sight, because the things are beautiful that are seen. Howbeit, neither are they to be pardoned. For if they were able to know so much that they could aim at the world, how did they not sooner find out the Lord thereof? And by these words he warns all to follow, that we must seek the Lord God in truth and simplicity of heart, casting all of our own vain views, along with the negationistic teachings of our youth, behind us in the relentless pursuit of righteousness, selfless intention, humility, mercy, understanding, which is to depart from evil, and above all wisdom, the beginning of which is the fear of the Lord, and that in regard to the truth. And also in the book of Ecclesiastes, summarizing up in but a few words, he stated, lo, this only have I found. God has made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions. And because we have gone afar off in the ways of corruption, because we pursued our own vain desires and sought our own selfish pleasures continuously, and would not hearken to the voice of our Maker, therefore has he given us up to the lust of our own hearts. Every mind is a world of its own. Yet he took not away from us the right to self-governance, nor the power of Elohim, having dominion over the earth and all that therein is. Each of us equipped with the ability to manifest our own reality by the power to attract whatsoever we speak, believe, and feel with conviction. Because we are connected to everything in the conscious, subconscious, and metaphysical realms, we as gods, as Elohim, bring forth into our existence whatsoever we conceive in our hearts and call to ourselves with the words of our mouths, once convinced and spoken through repetition, the very words themselves inciting action until it comes to life. For this is the power of Elohim, granted us of our Creator, in whose image he fashioned us, founded in the Spirit, fueled by whose breath we live. And yea, if a man would choose of his own free will to do his will, might he be found righteous. Is this not the purpose of our being? Is this not the true essence of a God? Is it not to be like unto the God, by whom we were made upright, like unto himself? Is not this the principal thing that determines one worthy of life? And yet, despite our evil inclinations to defy our true Father and King, he took not away from us the very thing that he granted us, the freedom to choose whatsoever we desire, even if we might be destroyed thereby. Therefore, he, knowing our nature, multiplied his mercies and likened man to the husbandman's seed, to the intent that there might be just enough sown in the earth among that innumerable multitude to bring forth the few righteous that he hoped for when he set all things in order by number and measure from the beginning. And though the entire vineyard be grown wild into a degenerate vine, bringing forth strange fruit, yet he might be comforted in his one precious cluster of grapes, who have chosen to walk in the light of his truth, for whose sakes he made the world first in thought. Though man be never ever so stubborn and rebellious as the children of Israel, who were made privy to the secrets of wisdom, having no excuse or justification for our rebellion, not as the nations who knew not God and were destroyed in their sins. For the world is the way it is because of the sins of Israel. It is because of our sins that the curses consume the earth. Yet he has preserved his word, leaving a narrow entrance to the world to come, paving the path of righteousness, open only unto them who are resolute in their hearts to seek out the truth, in a bold show of their appreciation unto him that prepared life for them, making a covenant by sacrifice in doing the things that please him. These exercising mastery over the corruption sown in our hearts from the beginning, by coercing our spirits to leverage the free will granted us by God to do his will. For we were appointed by God to be a light to the world, a nation of priests. But we, like men, forgot our composition, the righteous root of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and forsook our God. We were once the apple of his eye for glory, but like a stubborn ox or a wild stallion that refuses to be broken, we remain proud in our wickedness. Even in chastisement, we refused to receive correction as a spoiled child because we mistook his deliberation and judgment for excuse. We misinterpreted his mercy for favor. We misunderstood his patience and took it for privilege. We abused his love and thought to take advantage of our God. And now, as we sit in shame, scattered among the nations, think to change the order of life established by our God from the beginning. And even if we have it so, according to our own heart's desire, turning things upside down, bringing destruction upon the whole earth, leaning upon our own wickedness as a blind man leaning upon a broken staff, yet there remains some things that we cannot change, despite the unyielding conviction to will it so, like the fact that the sky is blue and water is wet, our genetic makeup, or that of the bloodline of our kindred, or the individuality of all things living that was established at creation by their kinds, each according to his will. Or that we are all connected to everything in God's creation, both moving and inanimate, that all things resonate at their own unique frequencies of life based on the elements by which they were made, the very same elements wherewith God created every living thing, yea, even us. By this we are one, and therefore as one we fall. Unless we repent and return wholeheartedly in truth, then we might be accepted individually according to our sincerity, works, and ways. Nor hate, nor grudge, nor resentment, nor distance, nor time could ever change the fact that your brother is indeed your brother as you are his, whether the son of your father or the son of your mother, the son of our father Abraham, the son of our father Noah, or the son of our first father Adam. No matter what we say, do, or believe, our minds could never change the order of the highest. Just as one that may alter the outer shell cannot alter the X or Y chromosomes that dictate the gender of the human creature, so the creature cannot alter the decree of the Creator. We are all entitled to our opinions. I like blue, you like green. He likes orange, she likes pink. And there is no right or wrong in these. But when our opinion is not in accord with the moral code of God, the author of righteousness, conceiver of every imaginable concept, he who has set the order of life for all things, who alone is judge himself, against whom no earthly conviction or fleshly doings will ever prevail, under whose jurisdiction we remain perpetually. If ever once our opinion opposes his order, it shall be counted against us for evil. For there is a decree with which man cannot contend, the judgment of the highest, written with the finger of God, the moral code of right and wrong, by which all the doings of his people Israel are regulated, in accordance with the judgment of the heavenly scrolls pronounced over all flesh, by which all souls are bound. And unless we accept and conform to the order that was set by the Lord of hosts, judge of all the earth, commander of all things living, both fleshly and spirit, we are foolishly, whether knowingly or unwittingly, waging war against God himself when we allow our feelings and our emotions dictate our moral compass to declare a lie as truth, even if not only but in our hearts. Though a man call good evil and evil good, shall it be so? Will the thing that is fashioned say of him who fashioned it, he made me not? Does not the maker declare the purpose of the thing that he has made? Yes, we are all in charge of our own borrowed lives, given charge in the sense that we can do whatsoever we choose with our lives, still borrowed nonetheless, but only for a time. For when God breathed the breath of life into our first father Adam, and his spirit, the nishmat, that gives us life, was commanded to transfer through DNA to all his seed after him, he gave us all the power to choose, a privilege granted us of our maker, as God's living souls, to do with whatsoever we please, ours, but only for a time, borrowed nonetheless. As Hannah understood, who named the child she asked of God, Shemuel, asked or lent of God. She therefore lent, that's what Shemuel means, asked or lent of God. She therefore lent him back unto him who lent the child to her, dedicating whom she longed to nurture up to the service of the living God, under the care of the high priest Eli in Shiloh, where stood the tabernacle built by the hand of Moses, the servant of the Most High. For she knew this life is not our own yet, but we must first prove ourselves worthy of his treasures in the eyes of the lender, the eternal one, by the keeping of his commandments, that we might earn its gift, even life forevermore, the true purpose of our creation. For in the image of his eternity were we made. Then, and only then, will we be one again with our maker, Ha Elohim. All souls will return to the giver of life for judgment, and all souls will be held accountable for every sin. For every sin is a choice, and therefore there is no sin that goes unpunished. Whatsoever a man says or does to your hurt, whether in defiance of your heart or in opposition to your beliefs, nothing will change in relation to the world by the will of God. Let it go. Though we disassociate ourselves from them and cut them off, it is but in the heart only. If your right hand offends you and you cut it off, have you not cut off your own right hand? And that to your own hurt, justifying your own vain opinion, deceiving your own vain heart, your own worst enemy? For it is not the will of him that gave you your right hand for you to cut it off for your own good. If it offend thee, has he not granted thee the power to tame it? And if it be unruly, is he not able to protect them that trust in him from any? Would he not put the shield in thy left? And by no means think to justify your own stubbornness and pride with the deceitful pretense that it is for your own protection to avert thyself from thine own flesh, because the definition of hate is to avert oneself. To turn your back on your brother is hatred, and to hate thy brother is to despise thine own soul. Thinkest thou by doing such it is to thine own benefit? Remember and forget not, as it was spoken directly from the mouth of God himself to the ears of his prophet Moses, the servant of the Most High, transcribed upon Mount Sinai, written and preserved from generation to generation, though hidden but never dormant, gifted us by he who enlightens the eyes, grants discernment to the ears, and discovers wisdom to the heart, that we might find the truth according to the law of life, saying, Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin on account of him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Will a man despise his own soul for the love of his own heart, and forsake his own life for the nurturing of pride? For surely he leaneth upon his own misunderstanding, and thinks he that it will bear the weight of his sins when he shall begin to fall thereby. Flesh and blood is proud, but the Lord humbles whom he will as he will. For every man is judged according to his own ways, and by the stubbornness of his own heart shall he be recompensed. Stubbornness is the weakness of a man, for it is the denier of all truth. Men were created as gods of the earth, but a lie has stripped them of their strength. Blaming, complaining, and making excuses are luxuries only affordable to the weak, and such will set their own soul to sale. An excuse is nothing but a lie, disguised as innocence. For stubbornness is born of pride, and pride is the beginning of all sin. A stubborn heart will not confess his own faults, but will find an excuse according to his own will. Neither will he hold himself accountable, nor make reconciliation for that wherein he has offended. For stubbornness is the mutant root of unthankfulness, the fruit of which destroys the conscience, bearing the seed of misery, as it rots away the belly of him that feeds upon it, and little by little will it consume him from within. A stubborn man will blame everyone and complain of everything, even against the hand that feeds him, as well the food, for which he labored not. Rebellion feeds on the stubbornness of a proud heart. Therefore is such a one blind to the truth and will argue with it, even within himself, seeking to find peace without avoiding the chaos within. For both stubbornness and rebellion are as blinders to the eyes of the horse to his own destruction, rushing to his own destruction. Pride steering at the reins. These are the rottenness of the fruits of a degenerate vine, unthankful to him that planted the garden of life for them. For they forsook the fountain of living waters and sought after their own dried up wells, which they digged in repulsion of their maker, rather than drink from the rivers he appointed them. For they knew not nor considered that the further they dug, the further they corrupted themselves. Therefore he gave them up to their own hearts and brought forth water to them from the earth, which he made for them, leading them to drink from their own wicked imaginations, even the water of gall, whereby their selfishness became insatiable, and their weakness their pride, and this their fall. Where lies the power in serving thyself? What can man benefit in forsaking he who made him? Yea, even the source of his own life. Where lies the glory of a king, if there be none to glorify him? Shall not the people serve him who serves them? A poor king is he who serves himself. Though he feeds himself, and lo, he eats well, loneliness shall consume him at the last. For as the bird does eat the ants while it yet lives, the ant shall devour the bird in her death. And as the caterpillar does feed on the leaves of the gourd, spinning its cocoon on the branches thereof until she be transformed into her destined form, she struggles to break free from her own bounds, in need of help, yet the gourd remains still, strong to bear her fluttering, knowing she must endure the conflict in order to develop the strength she needs to fly, as is key to her survival. And thus the gourd, which served as food and shelter for the creeping crawler, patiently awaits her coming, and through it all does bring forth its flowers for the butterfly yet to emerge, to suck of its nectar. The sustenance served to nourish the life of the thing it sustained. And when it was time to come forth to the fullness of her beauty, the Most High disposes her to her own will, and the gourd remains yet in its strength to nurture another. We are the caterpillar. God is the gourd. The caterpillar is man. The gourd is wisdom, rather say. The butterfly is righteousness. The answer is godliness. The question is, what is love? Who will not desire to serve their own maker? Who will not desire to serve their own maker will serve themselves in vain, to their own destruction. For that service is underserved, not to mention undeserved, and therefore profitable for nothing. There is no greater power than the power of serving others, for therein is godliness. What is the purpose of the earth, the sun, the moon, the stars, the rain, the trees, the bees? Life could not endure without the service of any one of these. The power of each of these is manifested in the purpose to serve, and yet all of these empower each other through serving. Without serving, their purpose will be defeated, and without purpose, their power would be nothing worth. But the greatest display of their power is that all of these serve without the intent to receive. Almost as if unaware, they count not themselves deserving, and thus look not for reward, but only to fulfill their purpose, knowing it is the true root of their power. How much more God himself, the maker of them all, who created them to serve man, all of whose commandments were ordered by the decree of wisdom to be transmitted to the service of all living things. And as all things were created at the hand of the Lord of all by the words of his mouth, the giver and source of all life, all things were created living. Yea, from the rock of the mountains that trembleth at his presence to the tiny dust particles that formed them, in conjunction with the elements, through the harmony and chaos that ensued over time by the direction, consequence, and perfection of his divine order. Though a man seeks to find them out, the intricacy of his magnificent design and fullness of his awesome power will always exceed fleshly comprehension. And though one think to know it, his pride will always exceed his capacity to understand. For what is man without the fear of his maker? For the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. And where is wisdom to be found other than with the Lord her maker? What man thinks to prevail without God? But he is a fool. Yea, even his own thoughts elude him, and he is a betrayer of the words of his own mouth. Therefore do what is commanded you of your Maker, and perform the commandments set forth by our God for the serving of him, which he ordained by the merciful, loving, and compassionate preparation of life for the benefit of his creature. Search the law from Genesis to Deuteronomy. Every single commandment is to the service of our neighbor. Therefore, to serve thy neighbor is to serve God. And by this, to serve God is to the benefit of oneself. For to serve God is to love thyself. For to love the Lord is to love thy neighbor. And to love thy neighbor is to love God. How can a man love his neighbor as himself if he keepeth not the commandments? For if he keepeth them not, he loves not himself. For sin brings death. And to do the commandments and to do the things that bring death to thyself is to despise thine own soul, as well the one that granted it. Did he not command thee to love thy neighbor as thyself? Whereby to love thy neighbor is to love thyself, and to love thyself is to love God. To love God is to keep his commandments, and by them only shall we live. Are we not all the sons of one man? Were we not all born of one woman? Are we not all one flesh? Yea, and the spirit also? And what of the beasts? Were they not made from the same dust of the ground from which our Creator has formed us? Let us observe the laws concerning the planting of trees. Is it not to serve thy neighbor? Were we not forbidden the gleaning of our own harvest to leave sufficient food for the poor and stranger? And should it not be sufficient also that what they leave should be left for the beasts of the field? Is it not also commanded to store a tenth of our crop every year to be given to the poor, fatherless, widow, and the Levite every third year? Were we not also commanded to give tithes of every harvest to the priest as an offering unto God, who does not eat earthly food, but charged us such to teach us the value of strengthening the hand of his ministers, by whose service we are joined to the Most High God of our fathers? And therefore she who entered the marriage chamber first, not chosen, but by the deception of her father, and thereafter regarded second to her rival, named her third-born son Levi. For now, said she, this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Yet unbeknownst to her, every instance leading to their union was orchestrated by the will of God, the God of Abraham, to the intent that in her yearning for the love of her husband, in competition with her sister, she would name him according to the definition of his true purpose, appointing him of the highest from the beginning, to join, through the sanctification of his seed, the nation that would come of his father unto God, even the children of Israel, begotten of the man who wrestled an angel and prevailed, whose seed will yet rule forever, having power with God. As it was written, as a revelation of wisdom by the wisest king to ever live, for the generations of Jacob to follow, that we might walk in understanding and not attempt to tread against the current of the rivers of life, knowing that all things come from him, saying, for a man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Evidence that that which is devised in the heart of man, thinking it to be for our own reasons of our own free will, has been preordained to fulfill the will of the Creator, who setteth all things in order and in motion, in consideration of them that be of a contrite spirit, to lift up the head of the lowly, to be seated in the seat of glory. And now I ask in all sincerity, humility, and allegiance to our God, what is our purpose, if not to serve? All of the commandments of the Most High, which he commanded us in service to him who prepared the world and all that is therein to serve us, are in service to each other, and not only toward man alone, but to all of his creation. Yea, are we not all one? And therefore is it not to our benefit to serve God Almighty, for which of all his laws, when performed by us, benefits him? Therefore, is it not the true essence of our power as reflections of our God to serve each other? This is the power of Elohim. Imagine how much more powerful we would be if we served each other without the intent to receive anything more than the power that comes from empowering each other. What is more powerful than a necessary thing? And what is more necessary than a thing whose purpose is to serve? Again, I say, there is no greater power than the power of serving others, for there is no truth above the truth of God, immutable, engraved in stone upon the tables of the heavens, preserved perpetually, the foundation of all wisdom and righteousness. Nothing prevails over the two. Yea, not even death itself, for both are immortal, wisdom and righteousness, and both were born of truth. For the God of truth created them, one and the same. Once we come to the full understanding of these things, we will learn to adjust, adapt, and align our feelings to those of God in concession with the truth, adhering to the principles of wisdom by the order of Ha Elohim. And this, my brethren, is understanding, to depart from evil. This is the ruling of the Spirit, to humble oneself, to be in agreement of one mind, one heart, one spirit, the one he breathed into the nostrils of our one father Adam, multiplied unto all his seed, beyond counting, since the beginning, that makes us all one, that we might serve it selflessly, to the intent that we might become one again with the one God that established all things by one truth at creation. The acceptance and submission to this is the destruction of pride and the conquering of sin. For wisdom is neither vain nor proud, neither is there any hatred found with her. And now let us bring all to the sum of the core of all stone truths with the words of King Solomon, the man with whom God commanded wisdom to dwell, that she never leave his side, even in his folly, that through his words she might instruct the seed of his saints, making privy to them the things that are pleasing to the Lord, that they might learn righteousness, to arm themselves against sin and prevail in the face of temptation, depart from evil and live. Translating directly from Hebrew, the original holy tongue, to the best of my knowledge, please forgive the shortcoming of my ability to articulate the depths of its true meaning as intended by King Solomon and wisdom herself. As words translated from Hebrew, the language of God, and wisdom maintain not their force when interpreted in another tongue. And so here it is. The last verse in Ecclesiastes. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole of man. And no, it's not a typo. And no, I did not leave out a word. This is how it translates. This is the whole, or this is the completion. This is the tamim of man. The same word is used for perfection. This is the completion of man, the keeping of the commandments. For God shall bring every work into judgment concerning every hidden thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. And with that, I hope that everybody is inspired by the words of the Most High, by the words spoken through his prophet Moshe, by the words of his prophet Isaiah, by the words of King Solomon, the words of wisdom. I hope that we will all acknowledge our evil ways, humble ourselves, turn from evil, and walk upright before the Most High our God in truth, and accept all the order of life that he has set for us and spoken through the words of the Torah, from Genesis to Deuteronomy. I bid you have the ancient tongue of our fathers. Shabbat Shalom Lechem.
Shabbat Shalom Lechem.
Yep, I know some went down. Some of y'all went to pray. That's fine. This is a recording. You can come back and watch it at any time. I didn't want to cut it. I want to finish it because it's all tied together to make a point. And I think that this is all part of the formula that God is teaching us through this book for us to get back right and return to our God. So I'm humbled by these same words. And don't forget, we all wear the same size shoe. We're all one. These words apply to us all. Baruch Shemo. Baruch HaElohim. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.